out. And a star-studded closing ceremony at the Olympics. Say goodbye to Paris and welcome Los Angeles as the hosts of the 2028 Games.
In the wake of misinformation online after nationwide riots, we'll be asking, should schools be educating children about fake news?
Well, Nana mentioned it, but the Olympic flame has been extinguished in Paris as the 33rd Olympics drew to a close last night. Team GB's last 2 medals were won yesterday, brought the total to 65, so it's one more than Tokyo, but the lowest gold count for 20 years.
Good morning. It's likely to be the hottest day of the year so far. Some parts of the UK could see highs reaching 34 or 35 degrees. Find out where with me in a little bit.
Well, hello there, you're very welcome. Just after 6 o'clock, I'm Eamonn.
And I'm Nana Acquare, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Nana, an absolute pleasure to have you here today.
Oh, it's so lovely to be working with you. The Eamonn. I'll try not to do that throughout the show.
Oh, it's
That fear, by the way, as there was like a fright scream.
It's joy.
See, I have the same people in here day after day, and you sit and say, who have I got today? And you go, oh, he's back. Now, all that Olympics thing. You see, you look at this and you say, right, we're 1 medal more than Tokyo.
Correct.
But 8 goals less. So,
Yes.
my friend,
Yes.
I put it to you controversially.
Yes, sir.
This has not been the success that British athletics would have wanted.
I don't think so. Well, British athletics, but Team GB. Mark England, who was on the show and before the Olympics started, you know, he was saying it would be a disaster if we didn't end up 5th in the medals table, and we've ended up 7th. The Netherlands ended up... I mean, the Netherlands, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So the Netherlands, they did better than we did. Germany, I mean, they had a terrible games. And Germany, they took nearly, I think, as many athletes as any other country, and they ended up way down. But when it comes to Team GB, you know what? We had some very close calls, probably not enough golds, but as far as the game's concerned, I thought it was some really enjoyable games.
Oh,
and
really?
I'm going to miss it. I really do.
Well, what about the opening ceremony? Because that was really...
Oh, you're not going to go on to me
I
about
didn't
the
even
opening
watch
ceremony
it.
again.
The opening was so bad, I didn't even watch the closing. So
I heard about the closing ceremony. I didn't watch it either. I couldn't bring myself to do it.
You know what? I love sport. I love everything about sport. The emotion... I get emotional. When I see the flame, it gets me every time. I've got a tear in my eye when the flame's going out. You know, we can look at the opening ceremony, oh, there was this, that, and we didn't like this. But as far as the sport was concerned, I thought it was terrific. It was put on well. Everybody I know that went there said it was a great experience, and it still had a tear in my eye. And I always feel sad when the Olympics
I would
is
have
over.
had a tear in my eye if I had have lined up, hoping to see all the acts that they had billed taking part, and then I'm in Paris and they're all in
I know.
Angeles. That would have given me a tear in the eye.
Yeah, I know, but you still could have seen Tom Cruise abseiling. How much of that did he do, though? You see, he was abseiling, he was on this, he was on that.
He
Well, I
does
tell
his
you-
own stunts, apparently. Yeah.
See, it wouldn't surprise me if he did everything. You see, when he's on Graham Norton or whatever it is, they sit and they talk rubbish all day. Nobody sits and says, did you really walk on the wing of that airplane? And the thing is, he did.
Yeah, he did.
He does all these things, and up the Burj Al Arab or whatever, he's hanging at the top of it.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
There's no need for it, though, is it? They don't need to do it. But the thing is, what about when you see Tom Cruise and here's Tom Cruise stunt double? Well, what does he do then? Is he just...
He probably just uses him for the love scenes.
Yeah, but when he has to look taller when he's walking along. Because, you know, Tom Cruise, he's only 3'7" tall. He's a very, very small man. Did you know that? It's incredible. Very talented, great actor, very rich, does his own stunts, but extremely short.
Sounds a bit like you.
I don't even do my own stuff.
My friend, right, we'll talk sport, we'll talk about what happened in the arenas and on track and whatever it is in about 50 minutes' time.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much indeed.
Well, to politics now, and riots around the country may have cooled, but a new battle has emerged inside number 10.
This is interesting. These reports are about Keir Starmer's Downing Street is in disarray. Power struggle between the Chief of Staff, Sue Gray, and one of Starmer's top advisors, with Whitehall sources accusing Ms Gray of thinking she runs the country.
Oh, goodness, honestly. But this comes as Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has pledged to restore the public's faith in law and order today, following 2 weeks of unrest.
Right, we go to the Daily Telegraph newspaper. Writing there, the Home Secretary says the riots show Britain has lost respect for police and called the riots a disgraceful attempted assault on the rule of law itself. Well, joining us now is former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Reddrop. I wonder how much he told Johnson to do. You know, Oscar, I just look at these things and I think, well, you get an advisor in. I've seen it before. We've seen it with Alistair Campbell. We've seen it with Dominic Cummings more so than anyone. So what is the limitation of the special advisor?
Oh, that's the age-old question in many ways. And some of the personalities and the names you just listed off there, they have very different styles. And it's all about how they would want to interact with that specific Prime Minister. I mean, Boris, for example, in the interactions I had with him, I just took the view of, you know, just let Boris be Boris. If you were kind of overmanaged and stifle someone who does have a bit of star quality like that, you don't get the best out of him. Whereas Starmer, completely detached, obviously not in the building these days anymore, what it comes across as, he is someone who wants to be he proactively wants to be stage managed. He wants kind of facts and figures.
What Keir Starmer wants to be stage managed? Really?
That's the impression I get. He'd want to be briefed up to his eyeballs, and so as a result, I think that creates more room for people to, in inverted commas, get their claws in on him. And I think the battle that we're seeing now, it should not be happening at this moment in time. It's come so to. I mean, how long have they been in government now? So,
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
You normally start to see this stuff after months. 6 months, but this is early days for this to be happening.
So what is Sue Gray's role? What does Sue Gray do?
Well, it seems quite ill-defined and in quite an all-powerful kind of gatekeeper way, and that inevitably will really grind the gears of people who also want to influence the Prime Minister and get close to him. I mean, that security advisor in the briefing that we see, I think it was the Telegraph that broke it, kind of, I need to give the Prime Minister a security briefing, and Sue Gray saying, oh, it's OK, you can run it through me, and go, well, no, actually, I can't. It needs to go direct. So that kind of aggressive gatekeeping this early on is I wouldn't say is particularly typical, actually.
You see, you're an interesting man as part of a team of advisors. No, I could listen to you, right?
No,
I could listen to you. You've got a good way about yourself, but I could also tell you, not interested, forget it, or whatever, or I am interested, because I would be very much my own person. But nowadays, they've got to do things that fit the plans, that fit what the media want, what the press wants, what the public wants. So you have to stand back and then say, right, Eamonn, that might be what you think, but Oscar's got an idea here, and this may reflect on me badly, or whatever. What do we do here next? So I can understand why you can't have the answer to everything, and why you might be micromanaged like that. But
yeah, no, and I think the other golden rule that Sue Gray would probably really want to maybe have in her mind at this moment in time is, if you think about, and at times fairly and rightly, the kind of boredom and contempt that the public have for politicians and broken promises, you could probably times that about 10 when it comes to special advisors. If we get sick and tired of politicians, in the newspapers kind of not delivering, and there's a bit of vanity and all that kind of stuff attached to it, when special advisors start doing it, when they're in Sue Gray's position right now, we've just had riots, there's 1,000,001 priorities for the country. When people turn over their newspapers and they say, wait, why am I reading about a special advisor spat, in government?
To be honest, most people probably didn't really know what they were. They've really come into prominence in the last sort of 3 or 4 years.
That's really true, actually.
Hearing them advising. What about, I just want to go back a little bit towards Rishi Sunak, because we've never seen him around. We don't know where he is. Oh, no, he's in LA. He's outside some Michelin
having a great time.
Yeah. Remember the D-Day debacle? I'm just wondering, how would that have... It's surely a special advisor.
Would he been advised
Who told him to do that, to not do that?
I think at the time it was said... and this is the other tool that special advisors often use. They use the media to brief, sometimes against one another, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. And I think at the time of Rishi and that D-Day stuff, it was really interesting reading the weekend newspaper long reads about how that decision had come to pass, and often you could probably deduct who was trying to keep their powder dry by who was briefing the newspapers as to who wasn't in the room. So you'd read the list of decision makers, you know, ex-special advisor, Y special advisor, met Rishi hours before, and then you could work out, oh, so they're not in the story. Oh, they're the ones who've been speaking to the newspapers, and they're the ones who probably are trying to cover their tracks about making such a poor decision. But this is the point about leadership, and you said it, Eamonn, just before we went on air. You know, I think the public want a prime minister and a leader, and they would have wanted Rishi in that moment to go, I'm getting all these special advisors, like a lot of them, if I'm being frank, fresh out of pretty much fresh out of university. Right. I was shocked. I'd spend time in number 10, and I'd kind of go, in some ways, what am I doing here? Like, I'm in my mid-20s at the time.
I was going to say about 12.
Yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. And you want a leader who goes, OK, I've heard all what you've got to say, but I'm Prime Minister. I know what's right here. I'm making this decision.
So that brings me to the question, how do you become a special advisor? Who then anoints you and says, Oscar, you're a smart cookie.
Yeah.
You could be good enough to advise the Prime Minister.
Well, I think in my case, to be frank, I was on GBNews defending Boris Johnson at quite a difficult time for him. And so I think sometimes there's a level, there should be anyway, and it doesn't always work out like this. And we'll see if the knives eventually from these advisors like Sue Gray turn on the Prime Minister, Starmer, at some point. They inevitably do. Always. But loyalty, I mean, you should really, if you're hired by a Prime Minister, you're not important. Your job might be important, but you're not. That's how you should view it as an advisor, I think. Well, does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
Yeah.
And just looking, he's played it well so far, more or less. I mean, I thought particularly his first speech outside Downing Street was very, very good. He came across very well. The Southport murders, I thought, no, that was wrong. I can understand why someone would say, you've got to be seen to be there, you should be there. He probably wanted to go
too soon
himself, but it was too soon, too raw. There was something that didn't play out well. But by and large, he's okay. He's much better than I thought he would be.
I mean, look, in the kind of the heat of the riots, he very quickly evidenced, and you have to give credit where credit's due. He said, if you commit crimes, we'll identify you, you'll get a knock on the door, and you'll be prosecuted, and you'll get a bit of a horrible sentence. And I think he has substantiated that, and he's proven that, because you can only show and tell that. You can...
But didn't he at one point brandish everyone as far right, which was not helpful? I mean, anyone with half a brain would know that there are all sorts of different people writing. Some may have been to brandish everybody with that brush. Seemed very divisive.
Completely agree. So that's the first half of the problem, which is just in the crisis, we need to stop people committing criminal acts. He did a very good job on that so far. The second half of that is, why has this happened? How do we prevent it happening in the future? What issues are not being listened to?
He doesn't want to talk about that, does he?
And that's why I think Yvette Cooper, they've just got her out the gate today and said, right, let's just talk, back the police, really tough on crime. I think that's how we'll see Labour want to talk about this. They won't want to get into the, kind of the underbelly of the issues, because it's too kind of dangerous for them in a way, I think.
Just a point that you made there. I remember when I travelled back and forward to Belfast, and often the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland would be on board the plane, and I knew them all, so I'd often sit down beside them or near them or whatever it is, and I was absolutely stunned as to the immaturity of their advisors, basically how young they were.
Yeah, nice.
And I would have personally found that quite hard. It's not that I'm against youth and young ideas, but listen, you're talking about 30 years of troubles in Northern Ireland, you're talking about 300 years of history, and you had better be across that, you better be steeped in that, and you better know the sensitivities of why they don't like each other and whatever. And I just thought, it didn't sit with me.
No, I'm happy to admit there were times where I would look around and go, I mean, I'm really glad I'm here, but at the same time, I don't feel particularly qualified to be. I absolutely had that feeling.
Could I give you a bit of advice?
Oh, OK. Yeah, here we go.
I think you are wearing the wrong clothes today. Right?
OK, yeah.
Because I think black absorbs heat.
Oh, yeah,
it's
34
degrees today.
Yeah.
And it's just me.
It is linen, though.
It also sucks in the light as well. Which
sucks in the light, so it does, and it's going to make them...
I know about that.
Yes.
You're right, son.
Yeah. So anyway, we will get on. We will talk about that now. But don't say you haven't been warned or advised. Thank you, Oscar Reddrop. Thank you very much indeed. Temperatures are set to soar today. Multiple parts of England due to go above 30 degrees. We're reckoning 34, 35 degrees.
Oh, I'm loving that. I love that. I do my hot yoga. I love the heat. This is all expected to be the hottest day of the year so far, with people urged to take the proper measures to look after themselves in the heat.
Well, the Met Office has issued yellow weather warnings, thunderstorms in Scotland and across the north of England.
Well, joining us now is senior meteorologist at the British Weather Services, Jim Dale. Jim Dale, 34 degrees. Yep, whoop, whoop. It's a good thing, right?
Well, it won't be for everybody. That's going to be for the little corner of southeast England, probably from Lincolnshire down to the London area, so through Cambridge, Suffolk, Norfolk. 34, 33, 34. There might just be a 35, but you're right. It's going to be the hottest day of the year yet again so far this year. Probably the N1, probably the top one. I can't see us necessarily getting back to these sort of values for the rest of August, but we'll see on that one. But yeah, a long time coming. And although having said that, we've seen 30 degrees now about 6 or 7 times somewhere in the UK on separate days. So it's not like we haven't had a summer. We certainly have. And if we're talking about 33, 34 here, well, in places like Paris, Madrid and Rome, we're talking about 37, 38, a lot hotter there, and that's going to test some people.
And yet, Jim, we've got these thunderstorms around the country as well, thunder and lightning and whatever. What causes that? How can that coexist beside blue skies and sunshine?
Well, it's the old one for the UK. You know, a couple of fine days and a thunderstorm. So we've got a frontal system coming in from the west. So people waking up in the west, particularly across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, but even when I woke up, a rainbow just to my west. So you know, these things do occur from time to time. So that frontal system is making the air unstable. It's fairly warm air, 20-degree lows minimums in Surrey and Oxford last night. So that's called a tropical night. So that little heady mixture that you get when you get the frontal systems coming in, it's not an abnormal thing. They happen from time to time. They will move away, to be honest with you. So it's just the morning period that we have to be worried about. And it is mainly the middle, the central parts of the country and out west side. So just watch your back this morning. Do the right thing in a thunderstorm. Don't go into open spaces and under trees, that type of thing. But the rest of it, if you can enjoy the sunshine, then do. Make sure you have one of these with you. A little bit of water always helps to hydrate yourself. So enjoy it.
Well, I do enjoy it, and I do like sunshine, and I do have a vitamin D deficiency. I don't spend enough time in the sunshine. But what it is, I don't know. What do you like in bed at night? What do you
Hey.
And then the humidity, you know, the whole...
I love that.
Do you know?
I love it. It's so good for your skin. I do hot yoga. So in the heat, when it's hot, I mean, I think about time. You know, I have like a touch of rheumatoid arthritis, so the heat just goes into the joints.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I suppose what I'm saying there, Jim, is that sunshine during the day, that's fine, but then when it doesn't go away at night, the heat is there with you the whole night.
Yeah, it is, and look at 20 degrees. It is uncomfortable. Let's just say that openly. You know, I didn't use the word tropical for any other reason. And the fact is, in tropical climes, that's exactly what you get to. So you know, you go down to 20 degrees, and it's very hard to sleep. I have a little trick if you are feeling oppressive in terms of your body, you can't sleep very well. Get up. Get yourself a little bowl of icy water, put your fingers in it for around about 3 or 4 minutes, and I guarantee you will lose 0.5 to 1 degree of your body heat and you'll sleep better. So there's a little trick that I learned in the Navy.
You'll never get back to sleep then, because you're working yourself up fully with that one. Why would you do that? There's no way I'm getting out of bed. Icy water.
That's what I'll be doing tonight, my friend. Very good advice. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Jim Dale. Right, whilst you're out or at home, staying cool today, spare a thought for the animals. How do they keep cool in this hot weather? Our reporter Anna Riley went to Yorkshire Wildlife Park to find out.
With record temperatures expected this week, how do zoos keep their cooler creatures cold? Well, at Yorkshire Wildlife Park, the polar bears are enjoying a vegetable ice block.
Polar bears, they do have quite a variety of different temperatures that they naturally do find. Once they're moving off these polar ice caps, they are in the likes of down in the areas of Canada, Hudson Bay. Naturally, they were finding polar bears in 35-degree temperatures year upon year. So they are very much used to warm temperatures and heat waves as such. What you'll tend to find is they'll go for a good swim and then go for a snooze in the shade thereafter.
Not wanting to miss out, the sea lions are treated to a huge fish lolly.
In the hot weather, it's really important to give them ice because these guys, they don't drink salt water. These pools are actually saltwater pools. They actually drink fresh water. They've got 2 freshwater pools in their house, but again, being able to provide that in their outside enclosure is also really important. So offering them ice with their fish is not only enriching, but it's actually beneficial to their welfare as well.
Other animals like the lemurs will be basking in the sun, but also cooling down with frozen sweet potato.
So we've got 3 different species of lemur here. They come in all different shapes, colours, sizes, but they are native to Madagascar. Madagascar can get quite hot, understandably, so throughout the cold months here in Yorkshire, we do give them a nice heated house all year round, but especially making sure it's nice and warm in the winter for them. And it does mean that in the hot spells as well that we're able to keep our eyes on them and try and give them things that make them a bit more comfortable with that incoming hot weather as well.
The frozen food on offer here certainly has the seal of approval on what could be the hottest day of the year. Anna Riley, GB News, Doncaster.
Seal of approval. You got it as well.
That's good.
Do you know, if you were an animal, you'd be that little polar bear at the start. Wasn't that polar bear? It was cute, wasn't it? He's a bit like Eamonn.
Oh, gosh. But it's nice to see that the animals are being cared for them and given nice things. And, you know, oh, goodness me, please be aware of cars. Please be aware of keeping dogs in cars. And, you know, make sure the windows are open or just don't leave them in a car. It's pretty ghastly, so it is.
Are you an animal person?
My life was changed 15 years ago when I rescued a dog. And I see all animals differently. Do you know what the most lovable... There are 2 animals out there that I've learnt are so... They love people, they love affection. Do you know what they are?
What are they?
Cows.
Cows?
Yeah.
I thought you said cars. Cows.
Cars.
Cows.
And pigs.
Really?
Yeah. And all animals respond. What do? We shoot them in the head and carve them up for meat and things. But we've all lost the connection as to where meat comes from. We think it comes from the supermarket and comes in packets. And you forget slaughterhouses exist and what they're there for and things. And to my shame, I eat meat, and it is a big problem with me, a big problem which I do have to resolve. But, yeah, so...
Well, you know, if you're going to resolve it, you might want to do it soon.
Yeah, I should. It's all talk and no action. Anyway, let's have a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom. It's 6:24.
Right, the King and Queen have sent their warmest congratulations to athletes from Team GB and the Commonwealth for their outstanding successes at the Paris Olympics.
The Prince and Princess of Wales have also called Great Britain's athletes an inspiration as the 2024 Games ended. In a video featuring Snoop Dogg and David Beckham, William and Catherine praised everyone involved. Team GB finished with 65 medals, 1 more than in Tokyo 2020, but 8 medals less overall.
Well, in other news, Ukraine's surprise invasion of Russia's western region of Kursk is now entering its 6th day. President Zelensky has formally acknowledged the cross-border offensive. Russia says that 76,000 people have been evacuated from the border areas in the region, but has promised a tough response.
Yesterday afternoon, hundreds of people attended the funeral of Alice da Silva Aguera, one of the 3 girls killed in the knife attack in Southport 2 weeks ago. The parents read tributes to their perfect dream child at the service in St Patrick's Church in Southport. The 9-year-old died alongside 2 other girls and during a mass stabbing at the dance class.
Well, it's going to be a scorcher today. Let's get your weather update with Craig Snell.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, this week starts off on a hot and humid note, and that humidity is also giving way to some thunderstorms. The thunderstorms are already going across parts of northern England and Scotland. Warnings are in force here throughout the morning and early afternoon. After a fairly lively night across parts of Northern Ireland, it is cheering up here, some sunshine developing, but really the main bulk of the sunshine will be further south across England and Wales. The heat here could just trigger the odd thunderstorm, but most will be dry. But it's going to be an uncomfortable feeling day. Some places in the east potentially reaching 34 or 35 degrees. So as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, it's going to remain fine and dry across many parts of England and Wales. Could again just see the odd thunderstorm breaking out, but most will miss them, and temperatures only slowly falling away. Could still see temperatures in their 30s as we head into the evening. Northern Ireland, Northern England and most of Scotland seeing a drier end to the day. Winds also easing here too, but could just hang on to the rain across Shetland as we end Monday evening. So for most, it will be a fairly dry night, but a fairly warm and humid one, especially across the south. Temperatures potentially holding up above 20 degrees in a few spots. But out towards the west, we will see this next band of rain and cloud move in, and that will herald something a little bit fresher, but it is going to be a bit of a slow process as we go through Tuesday. So a dry sunny start for most of us on Tuesday, but the rain in the west will slowly spread its way eastward, so turning increasingly cloudy and damp for many western and eventually into some central areas too. But further east you are hanging on to the sunshine and also the heat. It won't be as hot across the east compared to today, but still highs reaching around 28 or possibly 29 degrees.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The jackpot with the weather today, and you might well do it with the Great British Giveaway as well. £30,000, 3 weeks left of the competition, so...
Plenty of time to get your entry in. So what are you going to do with that extra cash? Well, here are all the details that you need for your chance to win it.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on the chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck indeed, but still to come, Paul Coit will be here with all your latest sports news. That's next. This is GB News Breakfast with Eamonn and me, Nana.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. Are you comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister?
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We got an incredible story this week of a young teenager who has raised more than £5,000 for charity.
13-year-old, just 13 years old, Cameron Hutchison cycled the West Highland Way with his dad, Colin, in just 25 hours, raising money for international food charity Mary's Meals. And the 96-mile route took Cameron and Colin to the foot of Ben Nevis.
Wow. Now, the organisation provides daily school meals to more than 2.4 million children in countries such as Syria, Haiti and Malawi.
We are delighted to be joined now by cyclist and fundraiser Cameron Hutchison. Cameron, it's so lovely to have you here. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well.
Well, we're very impressed to have you. We are honoured to have you. First of all, do you like cycling?
Yeah, it's one of my favourite sports, so yeah, I just wanted to do that.
What kind of bike did you do that enormous distance in? Did you have a special bike? Was it adapted?
Well, it was my cross-country bike that I just normally use for cross-country races. So, yeah.
Wow.
You can actually see it on the screen there with the blue handlebars. That's the bike I was using.
We can, and quite a route you went on as well. So, Cameron, you're 13 years old. When did you start cycling?
I've sort of been cycling my whole life. So I got a little red balance bike when I was maybe 3 or 2, maybe. And then I kind of just got bigger bikes as I went on.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Oh, my favourite part of the morning. The latest sports news. Broadcaster Paul Coit. Why do they keep calling you
I don't know. It's there from the first day I was here. It's like 3 years. Nobody's changed.
Just in case you think he doesn't know what he's talking about, we call him a broadcaster. Right, mate, so we're going to start with the end first.
Yeah, I always find it really sad. Is it because I'm a silly, emotional old fool? Is that the reason? Is that when you see the flame goes out, and there was Léon Marchand, the big French hero of the swimming pool, walks over to where the fire was, and then he gets his little miner's lamp and then takes it back to the stadium. Honestly, it gets me every time, every Olympics. But anyway, it's all come to an end.
My friend, they'll be starting again. The Paralympics have still to come.
That's true. A couple of weeks
time.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. I can look forward to that.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the closing ceremony? Did you watch?
I don't know. Never saw.
You never saw it?
Me neither. I'm sorry, I had other things to do.
Is that other things or better things?
Just anything else.
Is that why you keep going on about the opening ceremony, because you didn't see the closing one?
No, well, I couldn't after that.
Oh, it was all in the stadium. See, the thing is, usually you get opening ceremonies in the stadium. Of course, it was out on the Seine and it was pouring with rain and everything rhymes again. But this one was in the Stade de France, and it was very good. And obviously this is when the athletes start getting involved. But there were 9,000 athletes.
Gosh.
So there's a long time when you have to wait for them all to walk through.
Yeah.
And you see...
But a lot of them would have gone home.
Well, yeah.
Already.
But I was discussing this yesterday. Wouldn't you expect to be there if you're one of the athletes?
Yeah.
And I know, and I'm never for a moment going to have a go at Keely Hodgkinson, because she's been just a great hero of these Olympics. But I don't know whether she was there, and I think that she's on holiday now, and I think they do their event and go. I would want personally to be part of the whole experience.
Well, also, that's going to be the best bit, isn't it? The sort of the parties afterwards.
Yeah.
I know there was a major supply of condoms at the...
the closing ceremony? Was that?
Not just the closing ceremony,
I didn't see
apparently,
that bit.
apparently they supplied the athletes with thousands and thousands of condoms and things like that. Not that they're...
These are young, virile people, you see. That's it. You know what's going. You know, you have to be careful. But the actual ceremony itself, all the athletes came through. There was a little bit of a problem because there were so many athletes. Firstly, you get the flag bearers come through, and there's usually 2 for each country. They'll come through, and then all the athletes come through after that. The British athletes had these like Hawaiian shirts on, very loud Hawaiian shirts, very nice, with the colours of the of each nation. I think that was the reason for it. But anyway, once they all go through, they all walk around this windy area, and then you've got the big model of the country. So there we are, of the world, I mean. But the problem is that they were climbing up on the stage, and the organisers weren't too happy with them climbing up on the stage because they still had all this ceremony to go through. So there was a delay in proceedings where they had to make an announcement and go, please, could the athletes get off the world at the moment and stand in the sea?
Stand in the sea.
Well, it was something like that, yeah.
OK, standing on the podium, Emma Finucane. Yeah. Let's talk about her. She did well. Great Olympics, 3 medals.
Yeah, I think so. Gold, you can't argue with. That was in the sprint relay. And then she got 2 bronzes. She's 21 years old. And the cycling hasn't gone probably as well as maybe they would have hoped, because if we look back over the years, especially 2012, it's taken a bit of a dip. Well, it took a dip and now it's hopefully going up again. But she was absolutely brilliant. Mary Rand was the last woman to win the hat-trick of medals, 3 medals in 1 Games, and that was back in 1964. And I was looking into that. I always knew that Mary Rand was famous for long jump, but also she did the pentathlon as well, which is what Mary Peters did, Dame Mary Peters, back in '72, which then became the heptathlon. So back in those days, there was only 5 events, and then she did the 4x100 metres as well.
So heptathlon is what, 6?
8.
8. Yeah, it's Greek. Yeah.
So back in the day, there was only 5, but now they've increased it. And then the men do the decathlon.
Now, what about Emily Campbell? Now, she got the final medal of the Paris Olympics.
Well, for us, yeah, 65th medal, weightlifting bronze.
You know what? She took that in her stride. That looked easy to her.
It was, what is it, 120, it was about 140 kg, I think. It was something ridiculous. Huge weight. But she said, and I love this, she said, I don't know if you feel the same way, she said, if you look good, you perform good.
Wow.
So she had her eyelash technician that went with her to the Olympics.
Yes.
She had the Olympic rings through the hair.
Yeah.
And apparently she went, there she is, look at her. And look, that looks like she's completely relaxed holding that. And that is a huge weight. That is probably the weight of all of us put together.
I am a great believer in that. I do believe, for instance, you know, if you dress the part in golf, even if you can't play, people assume you can play.
I agree with that. Absolutely, I agree.
I used to go out with a guy like that, but not in golf. He's a cyclist. He had a lot of money. He bought all the nice things. He looked amazing. He had the right bikes. Everyone before the race was going, "Oh, what an incredible bike!" And he looked the part, but he always came second from last.
All the gear.
But no, people don't remember that, do they? Yeah.
But it does help, you know. It's like, so he would wear his cycling gear at all times.
He had all the right, at the races, he had all the right stuff and everything. He just always came last.
Right. So, Paul, there's some good advice there for you.
I think there is.
If you could look
If I could make more of an effort in future,
we wouldn't have to call you the broadcaster, Paul Coit. People would just know what he obviously knows what he's about. You know, look, he looks like a sports.
You know what, Eamonn? I feel as if every day I'm learning. And have you noticed my seat's gone down again, by the way?
Every moment you're getting smaller.
There we go. There we go. That's better. I don't know, it's a deferential to you.
The things that keep us on our toes, isn't it? I have it written into my contract that you have to look smaller than me.
You know what it is? It's actually a trap door. I'm going down further and further.
Let's open it.
Here again.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, we always get the chairs wrong.
We say goodbye to Paul. We say hello to Dawn, Lisa and Christopher Biggins. They'll be going through the newspapers right after this.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday,
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true.
You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB.
We got Christopher Biggins, we got Don Neeson, and they've got the papers this morning. And one of the big stories that's got everybody talking around the table here this morning is green belts and building in green belts and compulsory purchase of green belt land. Anyway, Dawn, what's got you going about this?
Well, I mean, look, we knew Labour were going, they've made this pledge to build 1.5 million homes by 2030, which I think means building about sort of like
300,000 a year.
A year, that's right. So they're a bit behind schedule already, aren't they? So we always knew that they were going to build on greenbelt land. It's not proper greenbelt. It's not like they're building on the national park. But what they're doing now is they're introducing compulsory purchase of, if you're a landowner and you've got a lovely plot of land and you don't particularly want to sell it, or you want to sell it at a reasonable rate, they're bringing in caps as to how much you can sell your land for.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't sound entirely fair to me. And as we were saying before we went on air just now, Labour have got MPs in lots of areas around the country now, including areas they never had MPs before, like the more leafy, green areas, the home counties. They've got Labour MPs now. And it does make you wonder how that's going to go down in those areas where people that do own land are suddenly being told, well, you've got to sell us that bit of land, we want it to build houses on. And, of course, we're just going to give you a minimum price for it because we can.
Well, I think they're going to start probably with the Conservative Council.
Well, exactly.
Go with it.
I think so. I think it's disgraceful. I agree with you, Dawn. I mean, it's disgusting, in fact. I mean, people... The Labour Party, who said no, they're not going to do any of this, suddenly are turning around and doing everything, like taxing. I mean, the next thing will be pensioners taxing. I mean, all these things that we knew they were going to do,
they're doing,
and they're doing.
Yeah,
and they're doing it very quickly, which I'm terrified.
The Greenbelt thing, I happened to be in Kent at the weekend, Broadstairs in Kent.
It's lovely around there.
It's
beautiful, isn't it?
You know what was interesting? Massive retail parks, right? And then in between them, farmland or ground or whatever, and not being built on, some of it being built on, and you look at it and you think, well, this is obviously all going to become one conurbation or whatever, so why don't we just get on with it? I don't know what would be holding them up. I suspect they're doing that. They're doing a lot of expansion, a lot of building there at the minute. But I look at it and think, all this nonsense that people talk about, oh, they're destroying our green belts. Green belt doesn't necessarily mean oak trees and rivers and whatever.
No, it doesn't. I mean, green belts were originally implemented to stop urban sprawl, to stop cities and towns joining into it. So you have a bit of a buffer zone, because if you don't see green or trees or anything, you know, apart from buildings, you're going to go slightly insane. But, you know, there are concerns that in areas of high property prices, London and the South East, that it's just going to cause uproar, isn't it? People are just not going to want to do it.
Let's talk uproar then. A lot of uproar towards the police and the Telegraph. Front page of the Telegraph, they're reporting today that an article by the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, she's saying, Biggins, the UK has lost respect for the police.
Well, I don't believe this, because I think the respect for the police is quite high. I mean, I know that they're having a terrible time, you know, at the moment, but I think people are... and also what has happened recently is that suddenly they've been a major issue on the streets. They've been there. They've been looking after us. And, you know, you get the feeling that they are... I mean, there's a small group, I agree, of people who are very anti the police. But I think the majority of the public...
Mate, I would say to you, when you look at when you were a child... there would have been more respect for the police. You wouldn't think of talking back to a police officer or whatever. And I'm going to put forward a theory here. And that's because our police forces have become police services. Like, for instance, Northern Ireland, the police service of Northern Ireland. It's all about service and that you're a friend of people and you take part in pride marches and you do all this sort of thing as well. We're not afraid of our police. You go on holiday in Spain and Portugal, whatever, and they've got batons and guns and tasers, and you think, wouldn't mess with him.
Yeah, good point.
They were taking the knee. They've got rainbow flags, rainbow cars. I mean, how can you take this seriously? I mean, did you ever remember that video of that one dancing at the Notting Hill Carnival?
Yes.
He was doing like body popping and going like this, and it was like, you're supposed to be policing this festival. And also the behaviour of some of the police, obviously not all of them, but there did seem to be an awful lot of rotten apples there. So I think they've done a lot of it to themselves.
But I think, Yvette Cooper's pledging to restore the public's faith in the law. Well, I mean, she could start by actually getting them to do their jobs. As you say, rather than dancing the Macarena at various pride parades. Fine, do that. But also, can we just tackle crime? Like, if a woman reports a sex crime or a rape, take it seriously. Don't wait 10 years to get it through the courts. So we can get rioters through the courts in 48 hours. Sex crime takes forever.
I have a thing, it hasn't happened to me, but I watch it on the TV programmes and whatever, and that is speed cops.
All right.
And their attitude towards people. So when they stop Mr. Biggins for driving and do you realise what you've done, sir? Yeah. And you say, yeah, I'm sorry, I was 5 miles over here. And then you think, right, I understand that, I shouldn't have done that. And then you get this lecture where you're treated like a child, and it goes on and on and on. And then you're sent to a course to make you more aware of this. Is it just me? I just think, yes, look, I accept this, I'm wrong, I shouldn't have done it, but stop treating me like a complete idiot.
Yeah, or a child.
Child.
You know, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've unfortunately had to do 2 of those where you go along.
Why would that have been bigger?
Because I was speeding. But I wasn't speeding, you know, and the trouble is now I've learnt that I'd rather pay the fine than go along to these meetings where they treat you like an imbecile.
Yes.
And in fact, the first one I went to, I didn't take my passport or identification. I didn't realise...
To prove who you were.
Yes, and so
didn't they recognise you?
No, not at all. So the man said, well, you'll have to go and come out there. And the woman behind me said, Joe, you know who he is?
Yes.
But as if you'd show up for
I know,
fun.
and then there were lots of other people who said, it's Biggins. And this man had no idea. And he had to make a phone call, and it was just a waste of time. And it's so boring.
Do you know, I actually found that speed awareness course quite useful.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah. So I realise now why certain areas, you know, where I've been going too fast in, you know, if they didn't didn't have, like, I've forgotten it all, actually, to be honest.
Well, nothing's going to convince me that 20 miles an hour in London is a good
ridiculous.
idea.
No, it's terrible.
Or especially, you know, at 4 o'clock in the morning. I do totally believe that outside schools or hospitals...
absolutely. Yeah.
Limitations, but be blooming sensible about it. It appears to me it is nothing more than a money-generating ploy on behalf of...
And now there's talk, I mean, they're being denied, obviously, but they wouldn't they, talk of being charged per mile for driving in London?
Do you know, I went...
Been denied, but
I went to Portugal, and they have a thing where you're driving, and then it goes tick, 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 and it just clicks as you're going, and it charges you per mile. But the motorways and everything, there's literally nobody on them. There's no one on them.
That's why. Yeah. So yes, you get these little cards and things, and when you rent a car, and it ticks off all the places that you shouldn't be or would be charging you.
Yeah.
But maybe we should be charging for our roads. And
well, the roads were beautiful.
What annoys me,
they were
though,
amazing.
Well, this is the thing.
Will they put the money into the roads? They won't, will they?
No.
But the other thing that annoys me is the 20-mile limit. You are a good man and you're a woman and you drive 20, and then people zoom past you doing 60 miles an hour. And no one chastises them, no one pulls them aside and says, you know, and that really angers me. So there's one rule for one and one rule for the other.
Yeah. Two-tier policing, that isn't a thing. Oh, yes, it is.
Your views, very welcome this morning. Have a say with your say, of course. Dawn, the Archbishop of Canterbury, he's saying the use of Christian symbols is an offence to our faith if they are used by the far right. Now, I find this very interesting. So the Archbishop of Canterbury says you can be a Christian, you can have a picture of the Blessed Virgin Mary or Sacred Heart or whatever it happens to be, but not if you're far right.
What he doesn't explain what his version of far right is, actually. People are a bit wary about it. I'm assuming he's talking about the people that were torching buildings and cars and things. But I didn't see any
imagery.
Rioters carrying any imagery. I mean, so I'm not entirely sure what he's talking about. But, you know, this is the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, who loves getting involved in politics, doesn't he? And he is describing the unrest as racist, anti-Muslim, anti-refugee and anti-asylum seekers. I mean, it's like, well...
People are allowed to have a say, though. I mean, rioting is not right, but protesting is allowed. And I can remember in the pro-Palestine protest, people carrying swastikas and one woman with a placard of coconuts and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but that's not a religious effigy. Really, what they say, usual thing about Christianity in this country, and authority in this country, you can respect anything to do with any religion except Christianity. Let's not have a bit of that. Let's not have that. Wasn't Jude has a brother who's a minister? No, is it?
No. I've got a great friend who...
James Whale, that's who it was, yeah.
I've got a great friend who was Archdeacon of London.
Oh.
And he was my best friend, in fact. And, you know, he would not agree with this at all. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, if they were with crosses with the God on it, or Jesus, you know, then that would be wrong. But I think, you know, we never see anything like that.
I didn't see any, I must admit, so I'm not entirely sure what he's referring to here, but, you know, it's you know, I mean, he's not even talking about rioters, he's talking about the far-right protesting. But, as I said, what's your definition of far-right, Justin Welby? Anyone with an opinion, I'm guessing, that's different to his.
Quick one, guys, about the final day of the Olympics and what you thought. Biggins, you saw it.
I did. I was, if you remember 2 weeks ago, I was the one person who actually loved the opening. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
It's weird.
I really did. I thought it was great. I thought it included the whole of Paris. I think you didn't just have to be a selected person who was in the main arena like last night. And, of course, last night was terrific. And I have to say, I became very emotional. I'm not a sports person at all, but the whole last 2 weeks, I've been sitting in front of my television crying, getting emotional. I mean, yesterday, when Emily Campbell, who did the lifting, you know, the weightlifting. She was fantastic.
Aww.
Absolutely wonderful.
I must confess, I didn't see it. I started watching it with all the athletes, and I love my sport. I love athletes, but I mean, I watched them walking in, and I got bored in the end.
Well, that is the boring thing, of course. I mean, they've done a wonderful job, but then seeing them go in and out is not good. Anyway.
Well, there we go. Guys, really lovely talking to you. We're going to be back in about 40 minutes' time with more views on what's in the papers. Right now, here's the weather with Craig.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, this week starts off on a hot and humid note, and that humidity is also giving way to some thunderstorms. The thunderstorms already going across parts of northern England and Scotland. Warnings are in force here throughout the morning and early afternoon. After a fairly lively night across parts of Northern Ireland, it is cheering up here, some sunshine developing, but really the main bulk of the sunshine will be further south across England and Wales. The heat here could just trigger the odd thunderstorm, but most will be dry, but it's going to be an uncomfortable feeling day. Some places in the east potentially reaching 34 or 35 degrees. So as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, it's going to remain fine and dry across many parts of England and Wales. Could again just see the odd thunderstorm breaking out, but most will miss them, and temperatures only slowly falling away. Could still see temperatures in their 30s as we head into the evening. Northern Ireland, Northern England and most of Scotland seeing a drier end to the day. Winds also easing here too, but could just hang on to the rain across Shetland as we end Monday evening. So for most, it will be a fairly dry night, but a fairly warm and humid one, especially across the south. Temperatures potentially holding up above 20 degrees in a few spots. But out towards the west, we will see this next band of rain and cloud move in, and that will herald something a little bit fresher, but it is going to be a bit of a slow process as we go through Tuesday. So a dry sunny start for most of us on Tuesday, but the rain in the west will slowly spread its way eastward, so turning increasingly cloudy and damp for many western and eventually into some central areas too. But further east you are hanging on to the sunshine and also the heat. It won't be as hot across the east compared to today, but still highs reaching around 28 or possibly 29 degrees.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock. This is GB News. Now, the Home Secretary hits out at a loss of respect for the police.
Yeah, Yvette Cooper says recent riots reveal that people believe crime has no consequence.
And she has pledged to restore faith in the law and confirmed that the streets will be flooded by police this week.
Has Sue Gray brought the Labour government into disarray? Reports of power struggles in number 10 between the Chief of Staff and the PM's top advisors. We'll tell you more.
And it's hotting up. Met Office issues thunderstorm warnings as we are set to hit record scorching temperatures, 34 degrees, a heat wave at last.
Star-studded closing ceremony. The Olympics say goodbye to Paris and hello to Los Angeles as the hosts of the 2028 Games.
And in the wake of misinformation online after nationwide riots, we'll be asking, should schools be educating children about fake news?
And in the sport, probably last time I'm going to be talking about the Olympics, probably the second best Olympic Games of all time, I'd say. The flame has now been extinguished then in Paris as the 33rd Olympiad drew to a close last night, with 9,000 athletes attending the closing ceremony. Team GB's last 2 medals were won, which brought the total to 65, as many as London 2012, but the lowest gold count in 20 years.
Good morning. It's likely to be the hottest day of the year so far. Some parts of the UK could see highs reaching 34 or 35 degrees. Find out where with me in a little bit.
Well, there we are, 1 minute past 7 o'clock on this Monday morning. Good morning, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Nana Akwe, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I think there's a lot of things schools should do and prepare people for life. And I think it's more useful than learning Shakespeare. Or, you know, there's lots of things you could look and say, what is the point of this? We don't need to know this. But I don't think telling kids the difference between fake news and not is the job of a teacher. Because, first of all, everything can be applied with a bias. I always say, Paul, in news, people say, oh, news is impartial. But you can... Everything is partial. Yeah. Everything has a slant on it. You know, if you like a team, it will come across in the report. Or, you know, I just think people... so how could you have a curriculum that would be totally impartial? I don't think it's possible.
And how can you have a teacher that is totally impartial?
And then also, who determines what is partial and what isn't? So
and that person, are they impartial, the one that's supposed to determine whether it's partial or impartial?
So who should be the arbiter of partiality and what is fake and what isn't? Because I mean, remember COVID, there were things people were saying, nobody wanted to question it. It was saying it's fake news, it's fake news. A lot of it turned out to be true.
Fake news and opinions.
Well, I'll tell you somebody has opinions. Oscar Redrop here, who we're coming to
Oscar.
Shortly. What do you think about teachers being empowered with telling kids this is false, this is not false?
I think it's a very, very slippery slope, and I think the conversations around freedom of speech, fake news, information has slightly accelerated after the riots that we saw over the last week. And I think it's a really, really slippery slope. I think what teachers should do and empower people to do is, you know, engage their minds to think creatively, to you know, run the rule over news stories and think kind of objectively objectively and interestingly about them, but just to declare things as slippery slope.
Because they can determine what the correct sources are. So they might say to the kids, OK, so the BBC are the ones. Because I remember when I was younger, it was BBC. They're very good, really good website. You get all the information there. That's a very fact. And they did sort of tell you. But then as soon as the internet opened up, suddenly there were other sources. And I feel that this is almost a political shift to try and refocus us back to the mainstream media.
Political what? A political what? Shift? Shift, you said, right. Right, thank you. OK.
Right.
Well, Paul will be coming to you shortly in about 15, 20 minutes about the last...
Sports news I have for you.
Politics dominating again this morning, and after the riots, they may have cooled down over the weekend, thank goodness, but a new battle has emerged inside number 10.
Well, reports have emerged that the Keir Starmer's Downing Street is in disarray as a power struggle breaks out between the chief of staff, Sue Gray, that name keeps popping up, and one of Starmer's top advisors, so I better do that, with Whitehall sources accusing Miss Gray of thinking that she runs the country.
Well, it comes as the Home Secretary pledged to restore the public's faith in law and order. Following 2 weeks of unrest, she's got an article in the Daily Telegraph, and she says the riots show the UK has lost respect for police and called the riots a disgraceful attempted assault on the rule of law itself.
Well, joining us now is former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Redrop. Oscar, good morning.
Good morning.
So Sue Gray, that name emerges again. What does Sue Gray do?
Well, I mean, Sue Gray, as an advisor, I think... An advisor, you hear the term special advisor, and it's always so vague. And I think the general public probably quite fairly and rightly go, I don't know, one, what's special about you, and two, what do you do day to day, and what does it mean? I think the briefing that we've seen in this, in inverted commas, war that starts at number 10, one of her primary functions is a gatekeeper to the Prime Minister, and I think she's keeping that gate quite aggressively, and I think that has, rumbled and ruffled a few feathers. What I would say is interesting about this, in inverted commas, again, turmoil, is, I mean, they've only been in power for 6 weeks, and to see this kind of briefing and, people saddling up next to different teams within number 10, this is happening very, very early in the day, very early in the day.
But Oscar, I think it's obvious. I often think when you interview ministers in the morning that they have to be up to date with everything else. I think it's very unfair that we as journalists, so say you're talking about the guy who's he runs the health department, he's head of the health department, and then we put a question to him about Ukraine and defence and whatever it is, and that man, woman can be quoted on an answer they give. I think it's often unfair of journalists to put questions which aren't their speciality.
Oh, you're really, really tapping into something I really believe in. So you want, so the public quite rightly and the media quite rightly want a minister, Secretary of State who is really on top of their brief of what they need to deliver for the people. And then you're right, and then they'll go on and they're doing whatever department that is the best they can most of the time. And then they get asked a question about something totally unrelated to actually what is their day-to-day job. And it's all quite performative. There's a bit of panto, to politics. And I think the more we kind of steered away from that, I think we'd get better results. I mean, I have to say, so I think this will frustrate the public hugely. But, a lot of politicians spend far too much time in the kind of the circus of the PR and, media battles, instead of actually just doing their day-to-day job. It's quite frightening sometimes, actually.
Yeah. I mean, we often get, politicians who are given a number of ministries in a short space of time, and expect them to be experts overnight in that, I just think it's wrong. I think it's wrong, and I often introduce someone else, say, Minister, we know you haven't been in charge, you've been only since last night, so understand if you say you're not briefed on this, whatever, but they never do.
Yeah.
They never do, they're afraid to admit that.
I know, and I do think, and people would have a bit more respect for politicians if they were asked a question about something particularly that wasn't related to what they do day to day and went, I've got to be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm doing day to day, and this is my job.
Why do they not do that, Oscar?
It takes, oddly, it probably takes quite a lot of bravery to admit on national TV, I don't know the answer to that question. And I think they think it's easier to just kind of obfuscate and kind of talk around it and pivot and run away from it. But actually, I think, it's what we all do it in day-to-day life, don't we? We get asked a question, don't know the answer to it.
Well, I just say I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite refreshing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
In terms of Keir Starmer, then, what kind of a person? I mean, I don't know whether you've met him or not, but what kind of a person is he? Because obviously they require different things from their special advisors. So is he somebody that is always sort of listening to the special advisor? Does he come across as that kind of character, or is he more free like Boris Johnson, who didn't listen to anyone?
Yeah, well, just let Boris be Boris was always my approach when I have interactions. Starmer seems like someone who probably quite enjoys and feels comforted in the stage managing that a special advisor can offer. The facts, the figures, kind of briefed up to his eyeballs. If I say this, what happens then? If I make this decision, what happens then? The crisis that we've seen in terms of the riots, I think completely, and I'm drawing a line that might not exist, admittedly, but just a theory in a way. The crisis that we've seen over the riots is perfectly suited to Starmer, in terms of his previous role as DPP, exactly. And I almost think that he's actually probably cracked on with this quite independently because he can do this. And that's when we've seen these advisors probably, to a degree, twiddling their thumbs a little bit and go, well, let's just start a bit of a war with each other. I think, however, if he gets put in crisis and situations that he needs to think a little bit more on his feet about and show that true in-the-moment leadership, you don't want the advisors to slow you down. I think we've seen so many decisions in the past where you can just feel it's just...
Well, Rishi Sunak...
exactly.
I mean, who was he listening to? Do you think he did that on his own, or do you think he... Because where were the special advisors? You think that someone would say, look, dude, it's not a good idea. This is a really big day. It's a very patriotic day. Do not go and do a prereq for ITV.
I think he's probably listening to about 5 different people, all kind of giving him slightly different advice. It's just the same for any human being. Can you imagine every time, you went to a restaurant or something and you thought, well, what am I going to order? And you had to take on, advice from 5 different people before you made any decision in life. You'd go insane. You just need to make decisions sometimes.
Just listening to what you're saying, having your say to the programme this morning. Jezza, good morning, Jezza. Eamonn, you're wrong about Starmer. He hasn't started well. I said, by and large, he's much better than I thought he was. But he's holding the country together with his choice of words and calling everyone in the area of the riots right-wing extremists. He is smoke and mirrors and a useless PM, says Jezza. Robin raises an interesting point here. Respect in society as a whole has been lost. Kids have no respect for teachers, the elderly, emergency services, as well as the police. It carries on into adulthood, and it all started since schools banned strict discipline. So we were talking about that, with the Home Secretary talking today about lack of respect for the police. And I think she has a point.
I think it's a really good conversation starter. Labour, and I think you may both have views on this, but I think they're a bit worried politically about getting into the underbelly as to why what happened last week happened. And I think quite a safe space for them, and a completely valid one, in fairness, which is quite a nice sweet spot for them, but a safe space to talk about it and frame it is about respect, policing, emergency services, because I don't think in some ways they want to get into the real political...
I mean, Sonia has got in touch on your say, and she says, why doesn't Starmer, Rayner and Cooper address why people are angry? They're adding insult to injury most days. And as you said, they don't appear to want to answer the question. I heard Keir Starmer being asked a very straightforward question with regard to addressing the problem and the reasoning for the riots, which obviously nobody thinks rioting is good, but he completely evaded it and then started talking about community.
Yeah, and that case in point, and I think, Yvette Cooper is far more comfortable talking about, we must respect police, it's just a safer... It's relatively uncontroversial, but to your point, Eamonn, I think it is... people will see that, and they'll see their Home Secretary, and they'll read that story, and it will filter through, and I think they probably will look around in their day-to-day lives and go, yeah, she's right, actually. I don't feel like there is that level of respect in society always. And so from that perspective, I think it's kind of a job well done from Yvette Cooper to be talking at that level to people.
Do you think it will change? I mean, by and large, I think we want softer teachers, we want softer police, we want a lack of discipline.
I don't want that. I quite like that. I quite like being told what to do. No,
but you're right. When you're told what to do, at least you know what the rules are.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't mind that, and I tell my children what to do, and they know the rules and they know the parameters. I think we've turned into a soft-touch kind of wallflower nation of people who, you can't tell that person off. You can't be honest about something. You can't say, no, that is a man, no, that is a woman. Oh, you can't say that.
And structure. I mean, if you've ever had mental health problems, for example, structure can be brilliant. And I just think that extends throughout society a lot of the time. Structure, clear lines I think, can completely free you in many ways, kind of counterintuitively. So if we can get back to a bit of that, then I think, that will have done a good first indication with this piece.
Oscar, as always, fascinating listening to you and what you have to say. And if it's got you thinking and it's made you have a view about have the police gone too soft, why do we not seem to have respect for the security services? Let us know your thoughts on that and we'll reflect them throughout the programme today.
Right, well, moving on, the UK could see its hottest day of the year today, with temperatures reaching up to 34 degrees Celsius. And
While you're out, or even when you're at home, indoors, staying cool, spare a thought for animals. Animals, particularly in cars, animals, you've got to give them water, you've got to keep them in the shade. How do they keep cool in the hot weather?
Well, our reporter Anna Riley went to Yorkshire Wildlife Park to find out.
With record temperatures expected this week, how do zoos keep their cooler creatures cold? Well, at Yorkshire Wildlife Park, the polar bears are enjoying a vegetable ice block.
Polar bears, they do have quite a variety of different temperatures that they naturally do find. Once they're moving off these polar ice caps, they are in the likes of down in the areas of Canada, Hudson Bay. Naturally, they were finding polar bears in 35-degree temperatures year upon year. So they are very much used to warm temperatures and heat waves as such. What you'll tend to find is they'll go for a good swim and then go for a snooze in the shade thereafter.
Not wanting to miss out, the sea lions are treated to a huge fish lolly.
In the hot weather, it's really important to give them ice because these guys, they don't drink salt water. These pools are actually saltwater pools. They actually drink fresh water. They've got 2 freshwater pools in their house, but again, being able to provide that in their outside enclosure is also really important. So offering them ice with their fish is not only enriching, but it's actually beneficial to their welfare as well.
Other animals like the lemurs will be basking in the sun, but also cooling down with frozen sweet potato.
So we've got 3 different species of lemur here. They come in all different shapes, colours, sizes, but they are native to Madagascar. Madagascar can get quite hot, understandably, so throughout the cold months here in Yorkshire, we do give them a nice heated house all year round, but especially making sure it's nice and warm in the winter for them. And it does mean that in the hot spells as well that we're able to keep our eyes on them and try and give them things that make them a bit more comfortable with that incoming hot weather as well.
The frozen food on offer here certainly has the seal of approval on what could be the hottest day of the year. Anna Riley, GB News, Doncaster.
Oh, we animals. They don't like me much. My friend, she's got these 2 little dogs, a black and white one and a black and brown one.
Yeah.
And it's only like a corgi. And when I come in, the black and white one goes... They have to actually put it in another room. I don't know. I've never done anything to this dog before.
Uh-huh. You need the animal doctor. What's his name?
Think?
Yeah.
Must be something about me.
Well, it might be something about you. It's amazing, the sort of thing. I mean, they're so territorial and they'll either love you or hate you or protect you or not protect you or protect their territory and that sort of thing. But the weather, the hot weather, I mean, not to be able to say to somebody, I'm hot, could you put me in some shade or could you give me a drink or whatever? Yeah. Just think your animal, whatever it is, and look after it today, if you could. Let's have a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom.
Well, yesterday afternoon, hundreds of people have attended the funeral of Alice da Silva Aguirre, one of the 3 girls killed in the knife attack in Southport 2 weeks ago. Her parents read tributes to their perfect dream child at the service in St Patrick's Church in Southport.
Ukraine have invaded Russia in a surprise move. The western region of Kursk is now entering its sixth day there. President Zelensky has formally acknowledged the cross-border offensive. Russia says 76,000 people have been evacuated from border areas, but has promised a tough response.
And the King and Queen have sent their warmest congratulations to athletes from Team GB and the Commonwealth for their outstanding successes at the Paris Olympics.
The Prince and Princess of Wales have also called Great Britain's athletes an inspiration as the Games come to an end. In a video featuring Snoop Dogg and David Beckham, William and Catherine praised everyone involved. Team GB finished with 65 medals, one more than Tokyo in 2020, but 8 goals less.
And of course, the UK could see its hottest day of the year today, with temperatures set to reach up to 34 degrees Celsius, with central England expected to feel the most intense conditions.
Further north, the Met Office has issued a yellow weather warning for thunderstorms. Northern Ireland, Scotland and northern England, there could be flash flooding and travel disruption.
God, what a contrast. But now, let's get an update of your weather with Craig Snell.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, this week starts off on a hot and humid note, and that humidity is also giving way to some thunderstorms. The thunderstorms already going across parts of northern England and Scotland. Warnings are in force here throughout the morning and early afternoon. After a fairly lively night across parts of Northern Ireland, it is cheering up here, some sunshine developing, but really the main bulk of the sunshine will be further south across England and Wales. The heat here could just trigger the odd thunderstorm, but most will be dry. But it's going to be an uncomfortable feeling day. Some places in the east potentially reaching 34 or 35 degrees. So as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, it's going to remain fine and dry across many parts of England and Wales. Could again just see the odd thunderstorm breaking out, but most will miss them, and temperatures only slowly falling away. Could still see temperatures in their 30s as we head into the evening. Northern Ireland, Northern England and most of Scotland seeing a drier end to the day. Winds also easing here too, but could just hang on to the rain across Shetland as we end Monday evening. So for most, it will be a fairly dry night, but a fairly warm and humid one, especially across the south. Temperatures potentially holding up above 20 degrees in a few spots. But out towards the west, we will see this next band of rain and cloud move in, and that will herald something a little bit fresher, but it is going to be a bit of a slow process as we go through Tuesday. So a dry, sunny start for most of us on Tuesday, but the rain in the west will slowly spread its way eastward, so turning increasingly cloudy and damp for many western and eventually into some central areas too. But further east, you are hanging on to the sunshine and also the heat. It won't be as hot across the east compared to today, but still highs reaching around 28 or possibly 29 degrees.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We now enter the final 3 weeks of the Great British Giveaway, and the Great British Giveaway is truly great. How much great?
£30,000 worth of greatness. We like a bit of that. So loads of time for you to get involved. What would you do with that extra cash? Well, here are all the details that you need for a chance to win.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Right after the break, we've got Paul. He's itching to tell us all about the closing ceremony.
I am. And also, I had to go at America about a week ago. I didn't like the way they did the medals table because originally they didn't do it by golds, where I've now realised that they're absolutely right because it makes a huge difference to us. So it's nothing to do with golds. It's all about how many medals you actually get.
So it's total overall medals, not necessarily...
From now on, as far as we're concerned, yeah.
OK.
I will compare and contrast the two medal tables.
Got what you mean, got what you mean. Back with more of that right after the break.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Just before the break, Paul was talking about the medals table at the Olympics and how it works out and how they judge it. It's,
yes.
Total amount of medals or total goals? What scores more?
Well, personally, I think it's all about the amount of medals, don't you?
Are you making this up?
well, let's have a look. This is our medal table. So if we did the medal table of the most medals won, because usually it's done on golds. So United States top, then China with 91, then there's us, 65 medals, then France below us, then Australia way down on 53, and Japan on 45. Now, the nonsense of the medal table, which is the official one, which hopefully we have that one as well.
So this is a figment of your imagination, and this one isn't?
This is the one they like to use on golds.
Which is golds, right, OK.
And I don't know if you look very carefully, but you'll see there's a distinct lack of Team GB there. The Netherlands came through with Sifena Hassan when she won the marathon yesterday. So look at that, Netherlands have been great. And we're down on 7th. We get golds, 14 golds. Silver, 22, bronze, 29.
Right, my friend, I'm going to say something to you.
Yes, go on then.
When we were at school, we were taught first is first and second is nowhere.
Right, OK.
So what you're saying is that by taking part, it's that thing that everybody gets a medal. Does it really, does it really count that you've come home with a bronze?
No, it's medals. It's actual medals is what it is.
Right, no, fairness, in fairness, right, so the actual being on the podium is important. See, but a lot of people, you see footballers do it. Jose Mourinho does this. Yeah. He wins a medal and he throws it into the crowd.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because especially if it's a runners-up.
That's correct.
They're not interested.
And I did complain about that when there was England, weren't there, in the World Cup, in the Euros, I mean, and then they got the medal and they just took it off. So I don't think any athlete. It's when it's a solitary sport.
Yes.
I think it's a little different. But I know there are teams involved. But, of course, the official medal table is gold. But it just makes us feel a little better about ourselves, and we can smile then at France and Australia a little more because we beat them.
Well, we did well, but not enough goals, really. That's the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah.
8 less.
Yeah, 8 less than last time, so...
But you know what?
That's what it's counted on.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, again, close but no cigar, but Adam Peaty was 0.02 of a second out, as was Matthew Richards swimming the 200-metre freestyle. The Coxless fours were 0.1 of a second. Amber Rutter, the skeet shooter who we spoke about, she was done over because the thing is she'd actually hit the target and nobody spotted it.
Oh, no.
Which was insane, although she was very happy with her silver medal. So there's another gold there. Tommy Fleetwood by one shot.
Well, they didn't have a sort of VAR system or a slow motion system or whatever. And one would have thought in this day and age that was a prerequisite. They would have had to have.
The clay pigeon, so it's gone up like that. She's hit it, just caught the edge, which is a hit.
Yeah.
But just because nobody saw it with a naked eye, they go, no, it's missed. But honestly, I would have gone bananas.
Furious.
She was very, very calm about the whole thing. But that's just another one. Matt Hudson-Smith in the 400, he lost that by 0.04 of a second. So it could have been so different. But on the whole, I think it was a very entertaining Olympic Games.
So what about you in terms of sport that you've done over the years? What was your strengths? What were you...
Gymnastics.
Gymnastics?
I used to love the gymnastics. I'm a gymnast myself, and I used to watch Nelly Kim, Nadia Comaneci. I love Simone Biles. I love her.
Yeah.
Watching her do that. My record was 15 backflips and a double back somersault at the end.
Hold on, what? 15?
I used to be able to do that. I can still do them, but, obviously, because I have a gammy knee, I sort of don't do them because it's not really...
So what would we have to pay you to do at least 3 for us?
Oh.
Well,
could we not afford
2 million.
Could we do the Christmas party or something?
2 million.
Oh, yeah, you did do it at the Christmas party. I forgot about that. Yeah. That was magnificent. But, yeah...
Well done. Brilliant.
But Simone Biles... Incredible. I mean, the thing is, she's gone on and won more golds after the break. 4'8" she is.
I was about to say that to you.
4'8".
4'8".
It's better if you're shorter.
Which is the same height as Tom Cruise, which is incredible. And there was him closing the ceremony.
He's not 4'8", is he?
Well, no. You know what? If I've got to be careful because the thing is, he'd probably sue if I said that.
And he's
probably
quite
6'7", I'm sure he is.
I think he is an amazing man.
Yeah.
He is addicted to acting. He's addicted to his job. I don't think anybody makes more films than he does throughout the year. Maybe Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
But what did he do last night again?
So he was there because when they hand over to Los Angeles, because they always have to incorporate the next the next host, which is going to be in 4 years' time, of course. So LA last time. Do you remember the highlight of LA '84? Lionel Richie. And the guy on the flying up, do you remember he had that like
the James Bond thing?
Yeah,
right.
That was 84. So anyway, there's this is scenes from yesterday's Leon Marchand, the great French swimmer. But then it did go to Tom Cruise a little bit later. Abseiled down, and then you see a film. I mean, they tried to do like London 2012 did with the Queen. Didn't quite work out.
Sorry, my producer's just said to me, did you say to me, well, we have a video of Nana doing... Oh,
have we really?
Right, we've got... Right, this is the producer Will's dug this up.
This is Mexico 68.
I'm just warming up. I'm just limbering up for my first move.
Wow.
Because I used to do the gymnastics. I'm getting myself ready for my backflips.
It's like the Isle of Man emblem, that is.
Brilliant, Nana.
That's only a taster.
Is this you at home, Nana, by the way?
No, actually, this is me in Portugal on a holiday, doing a little bit of gymnastics in the sunshine.
Right, OK.
Yeah.
Did you know you were being filmed at all?
Well, you know, that's just a warm-up to get myself ready to before I go up.
Look at...
That's before you jump in the pool.
Yeah, before I jump in the pool.
Yeah.
So, how are you feeling about Los Angeles 2020? Because you know what? We could do with a few more goals. And if...
I'm too old.
Nelly Kim and Nadia Comaneci come back, I think, why not? Look
Brilliant,
at that.
brilliant.
Very
respect, well done.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Paul. We'll be interested to see what video you have from your sporting days.
I can't even look at Nana in the same way. I couldn't even get over a hurdle, you know.
All of that was true, but after the break we're asking, should teachers be teaching children about fake news? Is that their job? Would you trust them to do that? Let's talk about that next.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
she could have said storm.
You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is an interesting subject we've got for you next. Children at school are going to be taught how to spot extremist content and fake news online in a revamp of the school curriculum.
Now, of course, all of that follows last week's riots. So schools will use lessons such as English, ICT and maths to arm pupils against putrid conspiracy theories.
ICT is information and communication technology. So they didn't teach that in my day, but anyway, they do now. Bridget Phillipson's the Education Secretary, and she said pupils as young as 5 would be given these critical thinking skills under the new plans.
Well, we're joined by the chairman of the Campaign for Real Education and former head teacher Chris McGovern, also head teacher at the LBS Ascot, Christine Knief. Right, Chris, I'm going to start with you. Do you think this is ultimately a good idea, that we taught critical thinking skills? That's the plan?
Well, the theory sounds good, but I'm afraid it's going to be curtains for Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy. Look, it's a bit sad, really, isn't it, that we have to go through this process, because we know that teachers themselves have particular opinions. Well, we have to ask the same question as Pontius Pilate asked: what is truth? Teachers bring their own prejudices to lessons, and we know this. But a few years ago, Labour Party conference in Brighton, one of the delegates from the teaching profession told the conference that if any child leaves school and votes Tory, the educational system is failing. That's the background. So can we trust the teachers? No. There are some great teachers out there. It's rather too complicated. But look, we should always teach children to be critical. I feel sorry for the 5-year-olds who are going to have to say, look, is really Sleeping Beauty true?
And it's not that simple, Christine.
No, it isn't.
So what is truth and what is not truth? And it's all perception, I suppose, a lot of it. How do you legislate for this? Because bearing in mind, if you're a member of a union, you probably think politically, you mightn't think in line with what the message is that you're supposed to be conveying. It's just not like an ordinary subject on the curriculum, is it?
No, and I think this problem's always been here because, you know, if you go back to when we were educated in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have the internet. So we relied on what our parents, our friends and our teachers told us, limited TV channels and limited media as well. And it was about seeking truth then. And critical thinking was around then, it's around now. It's been highlighted by the Tony Blair Institute paper for Skills for the Future. And I think any school that's worth its salt is actually teaching those critical thinking skills right now. And in an age of AI and misinformation, just what Chris said, it's about seeking the truth. And yes, I would trust my teachers to deliver critical thinking. We've been doing it for years, and we will continue to do so.
Well, you might trust your teachers, but there does seem to be a left-wing bias in a lot of universities and schools and so on and so forth. I'm still thinking about what you said, Chris, and in terms of, you know, it sounds like a great idea. But who's going to police what is fact and what is fiction, or what are the best sources to get that fact and fiction? It could end up being politically motivated.
I mean, of course it can. And I recall a few years ago on the Times Educational Supplement website, which provides resources for teachers, in the wake of the terrorist attacks in Paris, there was a model lesson for children in school, and it asked children to imagine that they were members of ISIS, the terrorists, and to think about the good things about being members of ISIS, such as you have white slave bills and so forth. That was terribly controversial at the time, and it raised questions in Parliament, and it was taken down. But you can see within schools there are extremist elements. And, you know, we have also had this great problem where the philosophy in schools these days is that everything is relative. So the view, for example, of the terrorist is the same as the view of the victim. And they're different views. So when you have 9/11, the view of the President Bush is one view, the view of Osama bin Laden is another. They're different views, but they're equal. That's why we have a problem. So I don't think we can totally trust the teaching profession to rectify this. But I agree with Christian. All teachers should, of course, good teachers should be teaching critical thinking all of the time. But we can't make it too prescribed, because it can be abused, and it will be abused by many teachers.
Yeah, and I mean, I just don't. This doesn't sit comfortable with me at all, Christine. In an ideal world, I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's not an ideal world. And you look at, say the doctrine comes from Downing Street, for instance. They will have you, for instance, you know, 5G. You cannot say in public life, and you can't express a doubt about 5G at all, or Downing Street will have you bumped off your job or a complaint. And a lot of broadcasting organisations just follow that. I mean, they used to say there was nothing wrong with cigarette smoking, you know, and that was the gospel.
Climate change.
No, it isn't. Climate change, yeah.
You can't question that either.
All sorts of things like this. But anyway, Christian, you can see the dangers.
I can, and all systems are open to abuse, and they always have been. And that's down to the inspectorate, and that's down to our online safety bills and monitoring, to make sure that children are safe. You can't sweep it under the carpet, because what's happening right now is wrong. And we need to be able to educate children to say, what do you think? When this came up last night, I said to my two sons in their 20s, what do you guys think? Open those conversations, find the truth, find the evidence. We have to teach children to search for the truth. And we would need to do that to make sure that they have well-informed judgments for the future.
Find the truth, find the evidence, search for the truth. Christine, very interesting. Got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Your views, very welcome. Have your say with us this morning. Still to come.
Dawn Neeson and Christopher Biggins will be here to go through the papers. That's next. This is GB News Breakfast with me and Eamonn.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday from 8 p.m.
I'm joined now by royal biographer and former royal photographer, Ian Lloyd. Ian,
hello, Jacob.
Thank you
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be great, isn't it? The opportunity to go around and see where the King comes onto the balcony from. Really interesting insight to how Buckingham Palace works.
It's exciting. I went yesterday, there was a press preview, and the thing that struck me first of all is that if you're the King and or the late Queen and you're on the balcony, you can't see the Mall. I mean, we all see people coming down from the top, thousands of people crowding in towards Buckingham Palace. They can't see it because of this great monument to Queen Victoria called the Queen Victoria Memorial, or they call it the wedding cake, but it blocks the view. So apparently the King has a TV in there, and the late Queen did as well. So what they do is they when they're waiting to come on, they're watching the TV to see how the crowd's getting nearer the palace. And the other thing that struck me is when we were on it looking down, is you can actually see individual faces in the crowd out there, because we looked out, so they do get a good view of what's happening directly underneath the palace,
So they can see individuals. So if there's a friendly face in the crowd, they can see that person and possibly even wave. But they can't see that enormous mass of people you get at the big events that goes back towards Admiralty Arch.
The other thing I learned is there's a great historical link, because the person that put the east wing on the palace, because it was originally 3 sides, and Queen Victoria had, of course, 9 children, so they had to build a 4th side for all the nurseries and things. Edward Blord was the architect, but the master builder was Thomas Cubitt.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Got Biggins and we got Dawn Neeson, and they've got stories which are getting people talking today. And in such a sad way, the funeral of that little girl from Southport, Alice, yesterday. Dawn, what are you taking away from this? It was so beautiful.
It was incredibly. I mean, it's the front page of the Daily Mail. They've splashed on it, but somewhat annoyingly, they haven't used that absolutely heartbreaking picture of her. The last picture taken, final smile on that fatal day, standing in front of a cardboard cutout of Taylor Swift and the Taylor Swift
and she looks so lovely, so happy.
Oh my God! And she's wearing a little T-shirt that says "Vacay Vibes," and it's just like she was walking into this dance class full of the joy that only 9-year-olds can do. I mean, they're just so full of life and fun and exuberance. And this is Alice de Silva Aguirre. I mean, she was, you know, she was one of those poor little children that lost her lives on that day. And this was her funeral at St Patrick's Catholic Church in Southport. And it's beautiful, beautiful pictures. And the parents, it's like, you know...
But the parents had a message, hadn't they?
It's keep dancing, my darling. Mummy and Daddy will always love you. And it's just like, saying that. But the message that was read out by Chief Constable of Merseyside, which is Serena Kennedy, in an address, she said, on behalf of the parents, please, no more rioting in the name of our little angel. And you understand entirely because, you know, everything that's happened since that awful event in Southport, we've forgotten these children. I mean, 3 little girls lost their lives. Thankfully, the other children that were injured are now out of hospital, as are the dance teacher that was also injured. But we're not, you know, we should be thinking about these children. I mean...
And the sister who was observed. I mean, just...
She managed to get away. Poor
I
thing.
mean...
Imagine
Can I ask a question, too? What do you think should happen to the murderer? I mean...
Alleged murderer.
Alleged murderer. I just think there's nothing... If he goes to jail, that's not good enough.
We don't know. I mean, the thing is, there was so much misinformation spread that it was a Muslim boat migrant, which is completely false. And as we know now, is a lad that was born in Cardiff. His mum and dad are Rwandan. We don't know. I mean, obviously, there's mental health issues because no one sane does that. But why you would do that in a little dance class with a group of little girls? What was your motivation? I mean, as we were talking about this, Biggins, you said, obviously, it has to be hate. But hate of what? Hate of 9-year-old children? We don't know. And it's until we find out more details, it's... But, I mean, it was a beautiful funeral, and that poor little girl... You know, you just hope that, you know, she, you know, that just keep dancing, my darling. Mummy and Daddy will always love you. It's like, oh my God.
I know.
Oh, the whole thing was just so random. It was just completely awful. But
wasn't it,
I think
Nana?
the message was that they don't want any more rioting in the name of their
Exactly. Please, no more violence. Yeah. That's what it is, yeah.
But there will be more investigations into Giovanni Pernice on Strictly. So he was on the brink of being cleared. Then what happened, Biggins?
And then Amanda came forward with more texts. I'm bored now with this story. I'm sorry, but I think it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, we were talking about this in the break. You know, when you do something... I've been asked several times to do it. I would never do it. I couldn't do it.
Because it's beyond you.
Beyond me. Yeah. Totally beyond me. And I think the problem...
I would be the same.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous because you have to work really hard. And, you know, if you are with a professional, they want to win. You, presumably, go in there to win. And so you have to put in the hours. You know, and also there are all these things now about the sexuality of people, you know, being pressurised, perhaps into having sex. None of that we'll never know.
But do you think there's a sort of an aspect of this where the celebrity's just not ready for the punishment of the rigour of what is required to do this?
I've heard that some of the celebrities go in and they say, oh, I'm sorry, I've got to leave now at 9:30 to go and pick up my child. Well, you have to make more of a commitment than that. You have to really work hard, and I think people who win it do 12, 13, 14-hour days.
I would love that. I would love to do it, and I'd be up for the 12.
Well, you'd be very good seeing you earlier, Nana. I was very impressed with your exercises. Really.
But I would love to do Strictly. I mean, and I get it, but I think these things are quite punishing in terms of their discipline.
Of course.
And in terms of the
rigour. And you have to expect that. And I think then to go... I mean, all these... We'll never know the truth of these stories because the BBC are very clever at covering everything up.
We know that, yeah.
From past experience and also recent things that have happened. But I think it's... I just think now let it drop. I mean, he was being on the brink of being cleared, and now this comes up again. So what will happen now?
Let's talk about jobs and who's filling them in the country, Dawn.
Right, it's not us Brits, is it? This is in the Times. Immigrants fill more jobs in Britain since COVID. UK economy has created almost 1.5 million new roles since.
But is this because Brits don't want to fill them?
Well, this is the $64,000 question, isn't it? Because it's like they're not actually saying why. More migrants are filling jobs, and more migrants coming from Pakistan and India and Nigeria. These are the people filling the jobs. Less EU migrants are taking the jobs. obviously because of Brexit, but we are getting more people now, as I said, from Africa and the Indian subcontinent. And the reason is, I think, reading between the lines, it's not clear, is that many of the jobs that they are doing are the lower paid jobs, like even the care workers, for example. And they are jobs that Brits don't see. I think you've hit the nail on the head, Eamonn, although this article doesn't say that. They're jobs that Brits don't want to do.
Well, they probably might want to do them if they were better paid.
Well, if
but
they're better
so
paid,
low
yeah.
paid that in reality, because a lot of these people may live in multiple occupancy homes where they don't need to worry so much about all the sort of bills that if you were living in a family home in this country you'd have to be able to live in. So a lot of the time that's how it's working, which is why this is cost effective for these people.
Talking about being cost effective, just before we hit the break, I think it's important to pay attention to Dawn and Biggins, who, for cost reasons, have not been able to completely dress today. Would you care to volunteer? Would you care to volunteer and show Biggins what they...
Yes, of course. I mean, I don't know whether we can see, but I've got shorts on. Can you? Where is it?
Yeah, you can see you there.
And what about Dawn? Legs 11.
No, well, Dawn is off.
Look at that. Look at that.
Legs off the radar.
We've got a close-up of you now. Let's see now.
No,
stand up.
Hey.
I tell you, excellent legs for
Beautiful
76 years of age.
76.
And what about me? 75.
Biggins in his boxer shorts as well. Thank you for that little laugh. We'll appreciate it. The guys will be back fully clad, hopefully next time. Craig Schnell, let's go for the weather.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, this week starts off on a hot and humid note, and that humidity is also giving way to some thunderstorms. The thunderstorms are already going across parts of northern England and Scotland. Warnings are in force here throughout the morning and early afternoon. After a fairly lively night across parts of Northern Ireland, it is cheering up here, some sunshine developing, but really the main bulk of the sunshine will be further south across England and Wales. The heat here could just trigger the odd thunderstorm, but most will be dry. But it's going to be an uncomfortable feeling day. Some places in the east potentially reaching 34 or 35 degrees. So as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, it's going to remain fine and dry across many parts of England and Wales. Could again just see the odd thunderstorm breaking out, but most will miss them, and temperatures only slowly falling away. Could still see temperatures in their 30s as we head into the evening. Northern Ireland, Northern England and most of Scotland seeing a drier end to the day. Winds also easing here too, but could just hang on to the rain across Shetland as we end Monday evening. So for most, it will be a fairly dry night, but a fairly warm and humid one, especially across the south. Temperatures potentially holding up above 20 degrees in a few spots. But out towards the west, we will see this next band of rain and cloud move in, and that will herald something a little bit fresher, but it is going to be a bit of a slow process as we go through Tuesday. So a dry sunny start for most of us on Tuesday, but the rain in the west will slowly spread its way eastward, so turning increasingly cloudy and damp for many western and eventually into some central areas too. But further east you are hanging on to the sunshine and also the heat. It won't be as hot across the east compared to today, but still highs reaching around 28 or possibly 29 degrees.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes, she could have saved Storm. You made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done. Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive
Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You really could become the next giveaway winner with your chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Listen to what some of our previous winners have to say about winning big with us.
Hi, my name's Victoria. I won the Spring Great British giveaway. So the day we got the money in our bank account, everything just felt just a lot nicer. We went out for dinner, just enter. And you never expect to win, but I did.
Get your entry in now. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Arlene Foster on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there, good morning. The Home Secretary has hit out at a loss of respect for the police.
Yvette Cooper says recent riots revealed that people believe crime has no consequence.
She's pledged to restore faith in the law and confirmed the streets will be flooded by police this week.
Has Sue Gray brought the Labour government into disarray? Reports of power struggles in Number 10 between the Chief of Staff and the PM's top advisers.
Ukraine's surprise invasion into Russia enters its sixth day after evacuating 76,000 people from the border region of Kursk. Moscow has promised a tough response.
A star-studded closing ceremony as the Olympics say goodbye to Paris and welcome Los Angeles as the host of 2028 Games.
And it's hotting up. Met Office has issued thunderstorm warnings as we're set to be hit by a scorching 34-degree heat wave.
It was probably the second best Olympic Games of all time. The flames now but extinguished in Paris as the 33rd Olympiad drew to a close last night. 9,000 athletes attended the closing ceremony. Team GB head home this morning with a haul of 65 medals, with only China and the USA winning more, but only 14 were gold, which is the lowest count for 20 years. And after seeing Christopher Biggin's legs, he's been tipped to be the gymnastic apparatus at the Los Angeles Games in 4 years'
The
time.
apparatus.
The apparatus.
OK.
Good morning. It's likely to be the hottest day of the year so far. Some parts of the UK could see highs reaching 34 or 35 degrees. Find out where with me in a little bit.
It's just gone 8 o'clock, 1 minute past 8. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Nana Akwe, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Anna, I'm really enjoying working with you today.
Enjoying
it. First time for us together.
I know, it's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. Lots of people have been getting in touch as well. We've been talking about the weather quite a bit. I think I love the heat. Alison says, we certainly have not had a summer in Cornwall. So it's not even hot there.
Do you think we've had a summer, Mr. Paul?
I think, well, looks like we're getting it now. But you want to be honest, though. I don't think you would be, Nana. Maybe you are, Eamonn. Is it going to be one of those, oh, it's lovely, I wish it was hot, oh, it's hot, oh, it's a bit too hot? It's just a little bit too hot for me.
I know what you mean.
It's going to get really warm.
We're used to having things when we want them, how we want them, exactly right. And shadow is a hard place as well, because where I live, the sun shines at the wrong time of day and whatever it is, you know, it's bushes get in the way and trees. And
What was your favourite lolly in the day, though?
My favourite lolly?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness me. There was one called, I think it had a parrot's name or something, but it was pineapple.
A pineapple parrot? I don't remember that.
Yeah, but it was Dale Farm, so it would have been exclusive to Northern Ireland, I would have thought.
Because there used to be, I love the Fab. I think they still do the Fabs.
Oh, you mean ice
Yeah, they do the
lollies?
Fabs.
You still do the Fabs?
What did you think he was talking about,
I
money?
was talking about the little sweet lollies. I was thinking about the one with the sort of funny shape with it and the two-tone lolly. That was what was going through my mind. But ice lollies, yeah, I do love the Fab, because they've got the hundreds of thousands on the other side.
That's it.
Then you've got the white bit on the top there. That's sort of, I don't know what that is.
It's three lollies in a lolly is what it is.
It's delicious, the white sort of bit that covers the whole thing.
Yeah? Yes.
And then it goes onto the red. And...
Do you remember I don't know, you probably remember those. They used to get the ice creams where you would buy like the square cones, and then they had the block of ice cream. Then you would unwrap that and then put that in the cone. They don't do that anymore.
I don't remember that.
I don't think you do that. Don't they do those anymore?
No, you're right now that I think about that.
How old are you?
Yeah.
I'm much younger than I am.
Well, listen, Jim says, I cannot stand it when it gets above 20 degrees Celsius. I don't know why people get excited when it gets into the 30s. It's awful. You can't breathe. You get sweaty.
But, and especially if you're a man and you're going through the menopause.
Menopause.
And then, have you gone through the menopause?
I went through that about 10 years ago.
Yes, I think it's brutal. And, you know, the fact that people laugh at this and pretend it doesn't exist. But, you know, I do sympathise women in the menopause, absolutely awful. But if you get a hot flush during a hot flush, it's really bad.
I'm not familiar, honestly. I'm not familiar with the menopause.
The menopause, when you slick your hair back, when you buy yourself a little man cave and a motorcycle to try and recapture your youth.
I am in the menopause.
You are in it.
Your hormones go all over the place. And, honestly, you should have your hormones measured.
Really?
You'd be surprised, yeah.
You get them measured? What do they say? I don't know. I don't know any of this.
Goodness knows. It depends if your hair falls out and all sorts of things. All sorts of things go wrong with you.
You can see you're slightly going through it.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah. Thanks very much, yeah.
I can talk. I'm bald under this.
Eamonn said he'll enjoy working with you. I'm not quite so sure.
It's the greatest ageing thing, though. I think if you have hair, it makes you look and seem much younger. Who was I watching the film? Who's the
Yul Brynner.
No, Robert De Niro and who's the other one?
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Well, he's gone crazy.
No, was it Robert De Niro? Who was I watching?
They look the same to me. They're one of the same person.
Anyway, I watched a very, very good film with one or other of them in it at the weekend. And like all the things nowadays, I can never remember what it was called. But it was
Is this the menopause kicking in again?
I think it is.
Can't remember stuff.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Thank you. Paul will be back in about 50 minutes' time. Politics we begin with, and riots around the country may have cooled, but a new battle has emerged. And this battle is a power battle within number 10 Downing Street about who does what and when they do it.
Yes, reports have emerged that Sir Keir Starmer's Downing Street is in disarray as a power struggle breaks out between Chief of Staff Sue Gray and one of Starmer's top advisers, with Whitehall sources accusing Miss Gray of thinking that she's running the country. Crikey.
Well, it comes as the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, pledged to restore the public's faith in law and order following 2 weeks of unrest. This is an article in the Daily Telegraph today. The Home Secretary says the riots show the UK has lost respect for police and called the riots a disgraceful attempted assault on the rule of law itself.
Well, GBNews' political editor Christopher Hope joins us now. So, Christopher, Sue Gray, they're saying that she's acting like she's running the country. Can you tell us a bit more about what's going on?
Chris, but I say...
What's going on there?
This is no different than anybody who's been in these situations before. I've just forgotten everybody's name.
You think Boris Johnson?
But no, they're advisors. Dominic Cummings, and then Alistair Campbell. I just think we've been here before, and it's always going to be a battle between who's got legislative power over all of this sort of thing and who comes in to do a job the way Sue Gray has.
Eamonn, I've lost all sound to you, but I think you're asking about Sue Gray and about the issues there with advisors in government. And there's no question that you all always have this tension because you have MPs who want access to the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, and of course Sue Gray in this instance. There's big concerns, I think, about her influence over government. Many of the appointments made to the government were made by Sue Gray, not personally by Sir Keir Starmer. Normally in politics, the PM makes the appointments, not the advisors, because the PM wants almost the oath of fealty to be to the Prime Minister, not to anybody else. So yeah, it's interesting, and there's no question that there's concern amongst some noises off, as Number 10 describe it, about Sue Gray. They do play it down. They tell us overnight that this is noise off from people who don't know what they're talking about. The big issue right now in Parliament and Whitehall is the wash up from these riots. We had Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, writing for the Daily Telegraph today. She says that a soft approach to crime under the Tory party feels as though crime has no consequences, so people feel they're able to riot and not face any consequences. As well as punishing rioters, Yvette Cooper says we must take action to restore respect for the police and for the rule of law. She doesn't talk about the reasons why people are upset, not the rioters, but so much as other protesters. She does say that lots of people have strong views on law and order, immigration, and the NHS, but they don't pick up bricks and throw them at the police, loot shops, or burn out cars. That's the point. While the government is now starting to say they recognise concerns about immigration and the like, they're not saying that in any way justifies the trouble last week.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Appreciate it. Thank you. The film I was talking about was called The Intern.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, no, it's very, very good.
Is it?
It's, you know, where internships go to young people. Mm-hmm. Well, in this film, which stars Anne Hathaway, she's the boss of a big
very
fashion.
good. I like her.
Very good.
I like
and do you know who also in it I haven't seen in ages? A real crush of mine, Renée Russo.
Oh, Renée Russo.
She was in it as well. But anyway, the idea is that they give the internship not to a young person, but to a senior person, an older person, and that turns out to be Robert De Niro in this. And he's excellent. He's absolutely superb in this. And the whole film was really good. It's a sort of rom-com type thing. It's a nice watch.
Oh, that's nice. So what's that got to do with this?
We were talking earlier to Chris. Forgot about all that. Anyway, so between Anne Hathaway and Renée Russo, it sent me hot. And the UK could be in for its hottest day of the year today. Temperatures will reach what?
34 degrees Celsius. I love that. Mm-hmm. So while you're out or maybe at home staying cool today, spare a thought for the animals. I mean, how do they keep cool in this hot weather? Well, let's have a listen to our reporter, Anna Riley. She went to Yorkshire Wildlife Park.
Oh, I'd like to go to Yorkshire Wildlife.
Well, I think you're in the first scene. There's a little polar bear there.
With record temperatures expected this week, how do zoos keep their cooler creatures cold? Well, at Yorkshire Wildlife Park, the polar bears are enjoying a vegetable ice block.
Polar bears, they do have quite a variety of different temperatures that they naturally do find. Once they're moving off these polar ice caps, they are in the likes of down in the areas of Canada, Hudson Bay. Naturally, they were finding polar bears in 35-degree temperatures year upon year. So they are very much used to warm temperatures and heat waves as such. What you'll tend to find is they'll go for a good swim and then go for a snooze in the shade thereafter.
Not wanting to miss out, the sea lions are treated to a huge fish lolly.
In the hot weather, it's really important to give them ice because these guys, they don't drink salt water. These pools are actually saltwater pools. They actually drink fresh water. They've got 2 freshwater pools in their house, but again, being able to provide that in their outside enclosure is also really important. So offering them ice with their fish is not only enriching, but it's actually beneficial to their welfare as well.
Other animals like the lemurs will be basking in the sun, but also cooling down with frozen sweet potato.
So we've got 3 different species of lemur here. They come in all different shapes, colours, sizes, but they are native to Madagascar. Madagascar can get quite hot, understandably, so throughout the cold months here in Yorkshire, we do give them a nice heated house all year round, but especially making sure it's nice and warm in the winter for them. And it does mean that in the hot spells as well that we're able to keep keep our eyes on them and try and give them things that make them a bit more comfortable with that incoming hot weather as well.
The frozen food on offer here certainly has the seal of approval on what could be the hottest day of the year. Anna Riley, GB News, Doncaster.
We like that, seal of approval.
Oh,
like
very
that.
good. There, she did well on that.
And if you've got an animal today, be good, be kind, be cool towards it today. I want to talk about the war in Ukraine, and Ukraine has invaded Russia. It turns out it's entered its sixth day, this invasion, after evacuating 76,000 people from the border region of Kursk. Moscow has promised a tough response to this, which I find hypocritical, ironical, whatever. We go to the defence editor of the Evening Standard, Robert Fox. I mean, as if Russia can object, Robert, to Ukraine invading them, you know, when it's already been done to Ukraine. It's a bit rich.
It's an extreme blow, though. This is the first major invasion of Russia since Hitler's troops went across in June 1941 in Operation Barbarossa. It's a tremendous blow to Putin's prestige, which I think was one of the main objectives of that, of this operation. We're 6 days in. President Zelensky has at last gone public about it. He has still not said, very clever, what it's all really about. Keep guessing. Russia is having to move in reserves from where it doesn't want to move reserves.
How, Robert, has Ukraine been able to do this? I mean, they're going to an area which puts them within striking distance of more of Russia's helicopters, for instance, and military might. Have they got a lot of battery stuff behind them? Have they been supplied with stuff? Has something recently just made a difference to them?
Brain power, and probably two principal commanders. Alexander Syrsky, who's been one of the generals of the whole war, who's the commander-in-chief of operational forces of Ukraine, and he's undoubtedly behind that. He's gone on the record. He's in The Guardian today. He's been talking to international reporters close to the front line. Very interesting it is. And a man we're not hearing so much about, we've heard a lot about him in the past, but do watch him, Kirillov Budanov. He is the psychological warfare guy. He was in charge of defense intelligence and now an awful lot more. He's the guy who psychs Putin land and Putinism out. And that's what they've got going, because we don't know what they're going to do. Even Professor Mike Clark, formerly of Russia, excellent commentator, was saying, what are they going to do? They have 3 or 4 options, and they've got them going. Will they pull out? Will they stay? Will they go somewhere else? Will they start something up elsewhere? Unfortunately, there's been a bad symptom of panic on the side of the Russians in that they have set fire to the largest nuclear power station in the whole region in Zaporizhia, according to several reports, which is hugely irresponsible for everybody concerned.
Well, it's foolish, actually, because you can't contain radiation in one spot. So if it does explode or anything like that, then we're all in trouble, and that includes us here. Now, I know that Russian troops are occupying about 20% of Ukraine. Would this be a tactic, then, to get Vladimir Putin to remove some of his men from Ukraine? And also, he has threatened to retaliate quite heavily. What do you think that might look like?
Well, the thing on retaliation is in the game of Jaw of the war of words. They have cheapened the currency of the language of nuclear, I am sorry to say. We're hearing that both in the standoff with China over Taiwan and so forth, but particularly in this theatre where both Russia and its ally Belarus talk about the option of using tactical nuclear weapons over and over again. I don't think we're anywhere near that, though, but they're talking options. And one of the options, again, is to put pressure on this pocket from the northeast, if you can envisage the geography, from Belarus. And that would be very much to the disadvantage of Belarusia, because it could blow up in their faces again. And I'm afraid there are the shades of another nuclear corpse, which is far from dead, namely the Chernobyl facility, which initially, in the invasion, if you remember back to February 2022, Russian troops went through that still very contaminated zone and camped out there, and a lot of them have suffered, and we are led to believe there are a considerable number of deaths from that. It's a mess, but psychologically, what I would say, as far as this battle around Kursk is concerned, Kiev, Ukraine, psychologically at least, is in the driving seat.
We've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. The latest developments in the war in Ukraine. Let's have a look at some other stories making the news this morning. This is what we've got for you. Yesterday afternoon, hundreds of people attended the funeral service of Alice da Silva Aguilera, one of the 3 girls killed in the knife attack in Southport 2 weeks ago. Her parents paid tribute to their perfect dream child at the service in St Patrick's Church in Southport.
The King and Queen have sent their warmest congratulations to athletes from Team GB and the Commonwealth for their outstanding successes at the Paris Olympics.
And the Prince and Princess of Wales have also called Great Britain's athletes an inspiration as the 2024 Games close. In a video featuring Snoop Dogg and David Beckham, William and Catherine praised everyone involved. Team GB finished with 65 medals, one more than Tokyo in 2020, but 8 goals less.
Now, the UK could see the hottest day of the year today, with temperatures reaching up to 34 degrees Celsius, with central England expected to feel the most intense conditions.
Further north, the Met Office has issued a yellow weather warning for thunderstorms. In Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England, there could be flash flooding with travel disruptions.
But first, let's get your weather update with Crates now.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, this week starts off on a hot and humid note, and that humidity is also giving way to some thunderstorms. The thunderstorms already going across parts of northern England and Scotland. Warnings are in force here throughout the morning and early afternoon. After a fairly lively night across parts of Northern Ireland, it is cheering up here, some sunshine developing, but really the main bulk of the sunshine will be further south across England and Wales. The heat here could just trigger the odd thunderstorm, but most will be dry, but it's going to be an uncomfortable feeling day. Some places in the east potentially reaching 34 or 35 degrees. So as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, it's going to remain fine and dry across many parts of England and Wales. Could again just see the odd thunderstorm breaking out, but most will miss them, and temperatures only slowly falling away. Could still see temperatures in their 30s as we head into the evening. Northern Ireland, Northern England and most of Scotland seeing a drier end to the day. Winds also easing here too, but could just hang on to the rain across Shetland as we end Monday evening. So for most, it will be a fairly dry night, but a fairly warm and humid one, especially across the south. Temperatures potentially holding up above 20 degrees in a few spots. But out towards the west, we will see this next band of rain and cloud move in, and that will herald something a little bit fresher, but it is going to be a bit of a slow process as we go through Tuesday. So a dry sunny start for most of us on Tuesday, but the rain in the west will slowly spread its way eastward, so turning increasingly cloudy and damp for many western and eventually into some central areas too. But further east you are hanging on to the sunshine and also the heat. It won't be as hot across the east compared to today, but still highs reaching around 28 or possibly 29 degrees.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Just to emphasise to you, the Great British Giveaway competition really is great. It is 30,000 quid's worth of greatness, and there's 3 weeks of the competition left. So that means there's still plenty of time to get an entry in.
So what would you do with all that extra cash? Well, check this out, because these are the details that you need for your chance to win it.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. What we're going to do is take a break, and when we come back, we've got Stephanie Tecci in the studio, and she's going to take you through the goings-on of the Olympics closing ceremony, which happened last night. Was it any good? You didn't watch it either. You didn't watch it. I didn't watch it.
It's the opening one put me off. Even though I was in it. If you look at the picture of the opening ceremony, there's this guy, I think he's dressed as a woman with a wig. Just looks just like me. It is. I don't know if we get the picture.
So he was a very attractive man then.
Very attractive.
Very attractive man. OK, this is Breakfast here on GB News with Eamonn and Nana. Back after this.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Karen Stevenson was born in Stoke-on-Trent and read music at Trinity College, Cambridge. She's played cello with many of the world's great orchestras under the batons of some of the most renowned conductors, and she joins me now to discuss her career and the importance of music in education. Tell me about that. What is your role at the Philharmonia?
My role at the Philharmonia is number 2 cello. I've been there for about 15 years. Sometimes I play number 1 cello as well, which is a great opportunity for me.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I often think what a very difficult life it is to be a professional musician.
I make a living out of it. It is definitely possible. Yeah, we don't really like it when we get into a taxi and someone says, "What's your day job?" Because we work really hard.
I was kind of making the opposite point. Not that you'd also have a day job. I think the perfection that is required for a professional musician is extraordinary. On the whole, we are intolerant of mistakes in classical music.
Yes, we are.
And I just wondered whether you don't become very frustrated with a world in which everything else is imperfect.
You are only as good as your last concert, Michael. That's how it feels. It is a lot of pressure. Sometimes we will say, OK, a pint for every wrong note or something, but depending on the piece of music, that could be quite dangerous.
How many hours a day do you have to practice?
You have to practice much more when you're younger, I think, when you're learning. I think this is really important. And when you're at music college, I'm a busy, I'm travelling, I have a family. I can't practice as much as I used to, so you have to rely on your experience. What I really wanted to say is that there's been a lot of fear-mongering about classical music being in decline and it not being relevant. And I really wanted to say that I don't think that's the case. Our audiences have increased. They're the highest they've been in 10 years.
The People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
she could have said storm. You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
look, we've been having our say about the closing ceremony and the opening ceremony at the Olympics and whatever it is, but Stephanie Tecci is here to give us her take off it. And you didn't think overall at the end it was very French.
No, I felt like the Americans hijacked the closing ceremony. We had a 3-hour show, and it wasn't until the last 20 minutes where we got what viewers like to see, which is entertainment. We had Tom Cruise abseiling the Stade de France. We had the performances in Venice Beach with Billie Eilish, Snoop Dogg, Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's when the show felt really alive. But to be honest, I think because the opening ceremony received so much controversy, the artistic director, Thomas Joly, I think he wanted to scale it back. I think the French were playing it quite safe. They didn't want to get any bad headlines, but what you're finding now, all the headline is about Hollywood and LA 2028.
Didn't he? He had to sort of redo the opening.
He did.
You could argue that that's what it was about. It was about passing the baton to the USA.
It is about that, but I think when you look at Olympics history, it's all about your opening ceremony and your closing ceremony. Those are the best bits which people remember of a country. But now when people are looking at the closing ceremony, it was all about Tom Cruise's moment and stuff like that. And I think, like, it dragged on for too long. They did have light touches, like they had this golden Voyager coming onto Earth where there was no more Olympic Games, but I guess people found that a bit boring.
You have to, I mean, bear in mind there are thousands of athletes there, so, so it does drag on a bit. I love your earrings. It's like the fireworks.
Thank you.
Ceremony, they're fabulous.
I guess, and that's the main thing we do have to think when we are kind of reviewing these things. It's about the athletes and saying goodbye to them and also marking their contribution to the Olympics this year. But I just have to say, Hollywood came and they brought the theatrics.
Okay, let's go to the main visual, which is Stephanie's earrings. Let's see, there they are.
What about me?
Yeah.
What's the story with the earrings?
I got them from Portugal, actually, and I was like, I was thinking, should I buy them or not? But I thought, yeah, they make a good investment. They go with the dress. Thank you.
Portugal, amazing place.
It's so amazing. I really want to live there.
Well, so we're talking about Portugal, we're talking about the USA.
Yeah.
And what are we going to talk about France overall with this thing? And, you know, what memory will stay with you with France? Good memory? Bad memory? What do you think?
I think the moment for the opening ceremony was Celine Dion coming back on stage. You know, she's been battling a very hard condition, stiff person syndrome. So if you've watched her documentary, you could see how hard it was for her to get back on stage. So that was a moment where you think, OK, she delivered, the ceremony delivered. But obviously what happened in the opening ceremony where they had that controversial Last Supper scene, that left a bitter taste in people's mouths. So that's why I think for this closing ceremony, they didn't push it as hard as they could. But I think what was missing from all of these shows was the French flair. People love France, and I think they could have presented that much better in their shows.
Well, I feel sorry for the French, but they show you the French flair, which is that ghastly Last Supper thing that they set up, and we're all going, what the hell is that? I mean, if only they could have stopped the boats.
Yeah, they did. But I think, again, it goes to show how different countries have different tastes. Like, people still think of London 2012 when the Queen and Daniel Craig came down. That was a moment for us which we remember. But you'll be surprised, a lot of French people actually did like the opening ceremony. It's just worldwide we were more outraged.
Do you think we've become a little bit... Because before we were... Like, I mean, think of the Life of Brian and stuff like that. We've been able to laugh at ourselves against Christianity. I don't know whether they were trying to be comedic. But do you think we've become... Because of lots of other religions and the way they behave, we've become a bit more sort of stuck in our ways now with our religion, and we're saying, well, Christianity, you can't make a joke out of that either.
Well, yeah, I think so, but we know that also they wouldn't have dared to do that about Islam or any other religion, because there wouldn't have been no ceremony left in that sense, because there would have been vast protests. So I think for Christians worldwide, they're like, you know, we're very subdued in general, but that was pushing it too far, and some things should be sacred, and you don't need that in an opening ceremony.
Well, what happened sporting-wise, we'll tell you that after the break with Paul Coyte. Stephanie Tecci.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the colour, for the earrings, for everything today, and for summarising what happened last night. Paul here right after this.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. ScotRail train services aren't running between Edinburgh, Waverley and Bathgate because of a gas leak near the railway. There's a limited rail replacement bus service. On the M8 in Glasgow, there's a lane closed westbound after an accident at junction 16 at Craycall, with queues from junction 13 for the M80 at Provan. In Staffordshire, St Peter's Bridge at Stappenhill is closed for an investigation, causing queues. In Northamptonshire, Sheep Street in Wellingborough is closed for an investigation. In London, on the North Circular, it's down to a single lane westbound for repairs at the Brent Cross flyover, with queues from the East End Road tunnel at Finchley. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, with delays too on the clockwise M25 towards there. In Surrey, the A31's blocked eastbound by an accident at Putnam, with queues from Tongham, and there's disruption to a number of buses across Somerset and Cornwall because of industrial action.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Just talking to Paul here, he's got the sport, and we were talking about lollipops, ice lollies.
Oh, yeah.
And the lolly, so many people from Northern Ireland, thank you, reminded me, I should have been talking, it was called a Polly pineapple.
Polly pineapple?
Polly the parrot, and Polly the parrot.
Was it Polly the parrot, the pineapple, parrot?
Yeah, Polly the parrot.
Pineapple.
And it was the pineapple lollipop.
So hold on, it was a parrot-shaped... It was a parrot-shaped lolly?
Pineapple lolly.
No, it was just pineapple, because it was unique to Northern Ireland.
OK.
Ian tells me this, Janine tells me this as well. Available only in Northern Ireland.
God, dear. You were lucky, weren't you?
I was very lucky. I might arrange to import them into the
I think that would be good. I think you'd make a fortune.
Well, Janine also says, tell him I'm sleeping in... I'm steeping my feet in a basin. He'll know what it means.
Yes.
What that means. I don't know whether I've read something wrong.
Very, very rude.
Is it?
What else was I going to say to you? I forget what I was going to say to you there, but...
Do you still get funny faces, by the way? Can you still buy the funny faces?
Oh, yes.
You still get the funny faces?
I think you can. What did I know? I was watching a programme last night on potato crisps and the wars between...
I saw that was on. Yeah, Golden Wonder.
And what's been invented and all sorts of things like that. Fascinating, very, very interesting.
Never understood why they did everybody got excited when you get the blue packets. They reintroduced that, then you open it up. It's like...
Just more work to do.
It's more work to do.
My friend, no more work to do with the Olympics. Well, I lie. I think 3 weeks away, we've got the Paralympics.
Right. You're not dropping the Olympics now, are you? That's it? Is it just a distant memory now?
It is for me.
I
loved it.
I didn't, because of the hours we work and things, I like track and field. I'd invest myself in that.
Yeah.
I do like the equestrian events as well.
Yeah,
The swimming is actually quite good as well. I have to admit, I did watch a bit of the swimming, which I thought was fascinating, because it's great to see them swimming.
Yeah, an Irish lad did very well in the swimming, which sort of kept me a bit on that one. But no, I'm not. I wouldn't have. A lot of people spend every hour of the day in front of the telly doing that. But
no idea. But you know, my favourite though.
Yeah.
Favourite athlete of all was the Turkish shooter in the air pistol. Did you see him?
No.
He was magnificent. So everybody turns up. They're like this, and they've got this eye patch like that, and it's like this, and they've got all the gear. They've got the arms. Anyway, he walks up and just goes.
Yeah.
Like that. Bang, bang, bang.
That's like that scene in Indiana Jones, isn't
It is.
it?
It's just like that.
Was he any good, though?
He got silver medal. Yusuf Dikec, his name was. I'm sure he's a hitman. It was just like, it was unbelievable. He just walks up like that, goes, here you go, stop all this nonsense. They've all got their eye patches and
that's the name you've
I
got to
love
be
that
careful
Indiana
don't get
Jones
wrong.
scene where the guy comes and he spins the sword and everything. And he's standing there and he just takes his gun and goes...
That's what Yusuf was like.
Yeah,
he was magnificent. So anyway, it was pretty good.
And did you find the closing ceremony magnificent, Paul?
I did. I enjoyed it. But the thing is, I'm an Olympics fan, so I like all that stuff. You know, it's 9,000 athletes, trying to get 9,000 athletes in. They always have it where it starts getting a bit, oh, hold on, who's this person dressed in gold that's come from the sky, that's dropped down, and there's no earth now, and this is that, and it's like, everybody's like, well, this is all very nice, but what on earth is going on here? Yeah. That's when it starts getting confusing.
Yes, yes.
But apart from that, I thought it was good. I enjoyed the Tom Cruise stuff, and and I liked what they did with the Hollywood sign, turned it into the Olympic rings. Very nice. I'm looking forward to LA in 4 years' time.
But we had a couple of... we were meant to get more golds, weren't we? And we had a few sort of near misses, didn't we?
We had a huge amount of near misses. But as I did say, and I'm going to stand by this, which is going to make Eamonn crazy, we are third on our medals table when it comes to amount. Have we got that? The medals won. Nobody seems to be showing the medals won table.
As opposed to gold.
As opposed to gold. Gold, that's the official weight. See, the Americans did it right. Earlier on, when they weren't winning on gold, they decided to do it on the amount of medals. OK, I gave it a hard time, but now I've realised that that's the way to go. 65 medals, one above France, and look at that, a lot more in front of Australia. But if it was done on golds, it'd be different.
But sadly, it's
sadly,
not
yes.
done like that, is it?
Sadly, it's not done like that.
And we came seventh.
If you had to choose, looking back, a few Brits, say, standout Brits, who would they be?
I'd say, without doubt, Keely Hodgkinson. Yeah. With 800 metres.
She wasn't there for the closing ceremony.
Yeah, I was kind of...
She was on her holidays with her parents.
No, I'm not going to blame her and say she should be there, but I'd want to be there. You know, it would surely tie up the whole Olympic experience because some of them would come out with their medals. So I thought she was terrific. And also, I'll tell you the other one who I thought was really magnificent and nobody mentioned enough, and that's Georgia Bell. Georgia Bell, who was in the 1,500 metres, she got a bronze. Nobody expected her to get this.
Well done, Georgia.
And there she is. And even Steve Cram in commentary, everybody was expecting it was going to be Laura Muir, the Scot that was going to come through. She ended up fifth. And Georgia Bell, who quit sport. You know, last Olympics, she was just watching it on TV, didn't expect, and she came back and she got a bronze. 30 years old, and I think she was brilliant.
And what about poor little Andy Murray, who
absolutely.
Could quit as well.
Yeah, but he's a star, really.
He is an absolute star.
To really punch through and show that we can win. In 2012, he won.
He did.
I remember that one.
He's got a couple of those, but to end, what a way to finish with the Olympics. Fantastic.
The Community Shield on Saturday, what a way to end. United to be robbed on penalties.
Johnny Evans, how you feeling about Johnny?
I love Johnny.
Yeah?
My brother met Johnny Evans at Barry's Amusement Park in Portrush last week. And he posed for a picture with his kid and things. He's a nice, approachable, ordinary, lovely fella. Sorry to see that fell on his shoulders. Then also, Jadon Sancho, he missed one before that.
Yeah.
And that won't have done his mental sort of, I don't know, health any good doing that.
Well, we look at, the season now. The Premier League, obviously the EFL's got underway. The Premier League season gets underway next weekend, which I know Nana is just ecstatic and very excited about.
It's true, my eyes have rolled to the back of my head.
There's excitement.
Back of my brain now.
How do you feel? Are you Manchester United? Are you confident? This is the point where we're all level. I'm happy because I'm level on points with the top club at the moment.
Last year.
You think so?
We're better than last year. I think we're going to be
Right, yes, thank you for that.
And Bruno has just signed a deal for the next 4 years on 300,000 a week. Bruno
That's not bad
Fernandes.
going, is it?
300,000 a week.
What would you do with it? Would it make you happy? Yes.
Yes, it would. Actually.
Yes, it would.
Yes.
Over the moon.
Thank you. Paul, appreciate it. Back after this with the papers.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is a big old headache because we talk a lot about GP appointments, don't we? But it's certainly almost everyone I know struggles to see a dentist when they need one.
Yes. You know the best time to go to a dentist? When? 2:30. 2:30.
That's actually quite good. It's better than my gags.
The guy that went into Goa, to India, to get his dental treatment, is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, so tell us about that. This is how desperate people are to get treatment now. So what's the story?
OK, the story is a guy couldn't get an appointment at the NHS, so he went all the way to Goa in India to get his dental appointment. Now, I think he probably just wanted to go on holiday, and he thought, I know, why don't I go on holiday to Goa and then get my teeth done? Look, people are travelling in their droves. There's whole aeroplanes full of people with medical tourists. Like in Turkey, you get a whole aeroplane with people with hair implants, things like that.
Well,
Yeah, I was going to go to
turkey teeth, isn't it?
Turkey teeth.
Turkey teeth. Well, now we've got
that's when they strip the tooth down and you have these little pegs.
Yes, they strip them down, but in many cases they strip them down far too low, so the nerve is exposed and it gets infected, and it's exposed to the elements, so you get infection in the tooth, and then you have to essentially take them all off. But by then the infection spreads so far. I was getting my nails done the other day, which I don't do very often, and my nail technician said to me, "Is your dad still a dentist?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Please, can I have an emergency appointment? I went to Turkey and I got my teeth done, and now they look incredible, but I'm in so much pain. They're all infected." She had 15 taken out from the top and 12 from the bottom, and it's an absolute disaster. But this is what people are feeling like they have to do.
So medical tourism doesn't always work.
No, but it shows, doesn't it, Alex, that people can't get their teeth sorted here, so they go elsewhere. Listen, do you floss, by the way?
Don't floss. GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We've got Dawn and we've got Biggins, and they've got the stories making the news. One of the stories, Dawn, is that universities are going to give more of a chance to admissions from people who failed their A-levels, which I'll say to you, what is the point?
Well, exactly that. I mean, that's because universities are struggling to fill places at the moment, and obviously the more places they have filled, the more money they earn, and we all know that they are struggling for money because there's less foreign students coming into the country for various reasons. But these are even the elite universities, or the Russell Group universities, that are, in the clearing system. Oh, by the way, it's A-levels results on Thursday. That's why they're doing the story now. But even the clearing system, which sorts out the leftover places and matches them with students, listed the grades you need for your A-levels. And some of them are literally just 3 Bs or BCC rather than the 3 A or A stars that you used to be able to get. So, and it's some really good degrees as well, physics, English, and they're really good universities.
I can see how you can get A's and A stars in physics because there's either a right or wrong answer, but it's much harder in English, I think, because it's open to interpretation.
It is, absolutely. And I always say this when we talk about universities, is I don't think they should be encouraged.
I think that we should, too many people suffer. I mean, for instance, the huge amounts of money that they are left with debt with, when you go to university. But people should be going out and getting a job somewhere else and earning money rather than giving it away.
Would you hear of people with £70,000 debt? One of the presenters here, she had £70,000 debt from university. I'm like...
I think it's terrible.
It's just too much money. You can't.
Of course it is. And that goes on and on and on with the interest and everything.
If you want to go to university, you should have the opportunity. But, however, I think we place too much emphasis on that.
I agree.
Not everybody is academically gifted in that way. Some people, might be better suited to apprenticeships.
I just don't see, Dom, why you have to be judged whether you've been to university or not.
No,
I haven't been to university.
Me neither.
Nor have I.
I have.
Yeah, have you been?
No, God, no.
Right, so 3 of us haven't and you have.
I have, but, for me, it was actually really good. I mean, I don't remember much of it.
Well, that's the point, isn't it?
You see, while you don't remember much of it, I was working. And I was working in journalism, I was working in a bar at night. I was doing lots of things because I can't understand why people want to get on in life without earning money.
Well, no, I
just want to earn money.
No, I worked whilst I was at university as well. I worked on the door for a club. I was a bouncer. I worked dancing in clubs as well to make money.
Yeah, both of those I can imagine. Yep.
I did, but I had to work whilst I was there. But yeah, for me, it was a really important thing because it gave me a bit of discipline.
But go and learn a trade. Go, become a plumber.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I
can't get a plumber.
I did a business degree, so I learned how to run a business. So I
run a plumbing business then.
Get my hands
let's talk about gulls, big uns. Here we are, and I've been down to the seaside at the weekend. And
did you see many seagulls?
Yeah. And I noticed this thing. There was this story last week which said, if you want to scare off a gull, look at it straight in the eye.
Oh, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Because its eyes are the side of its head. How can you look straight in its... How can you do that? Right.
And also, it's a joke, but what is terrifying about this story, I can't believe this, that seagulls, have smashed £1.6 million worth of mobiles.
What?
So they've been attacking mobiles.
I thought they just stuck to chips.
And cracking.
It might look like a big chip then.
Obviously.
Yes, exactly, and cracking the glass. And they're useless. And, of course, nowadays, mobiles are so expensive.
Yeah.
So the insurance people are going absolutely mad.
Wow.
But, I mean, they are terrorising the seaside. I mean, they're and also, we get them in London.
Can you imagine the first person that said, how was your phone screen cracked? Oh, a gull hit it.
Yeah.
You pull the other one.
That one.
Now it's happening to everybody.
Dawn, right.
What about...
What are we going to...
Sorry,
can I just talk about Banksy? Now, so there was a phone box decorated by this weekend and a chip shop and whatever it is. Do you know what? I don't care. I really don't care. And I looked at the phone box and I thought, I hope someone comes along and just scrubs all that out. Is it just me? What is...
No, and also, Eamonn, the other thing is, how do we know it's a Banksy's? I mean, it's only him saying...
Well, apparently he's got his own website now and things.
I know, but we don't know. I mean, we don't know who he is. We don't know anything about him. I mean, I love art, and I know you do, Eamonn. I mean, you've introduced me to some marvellous people in Belfast. But, I like to know who my artist is. And this sort of not telling anybody who you are has produced, an extraordinary artist who's worth a lot of money now.
Well, it's worked out very well for him. That's his whole USP, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who am I?
I mean, we just saw the clip then of it because he spray-painted a satellite dish. And literally within minutes, people were up a ladder nicking the satellite dish. Now, I was a bit suspicious about that. I thought that was a bit of a PR stunt.
Low-grade for him.
I thought it was a bit of a PR stunt, the fact that it was stolen straight away. But
Dawn, what do you think about Victoria Sponge cake, which I think it's bliss.
What's your favourite cake, right? OK, let's go down this road. Your favourite cake, come on.
Well, Victoria Sponge.
You'd like a Victoria Sponge? Yeah, Nana?
Lemon drizzle.
OK, Biggins?
No, I think my great auntie Vi taught me how to make a Victoria Sponge. The very first thing I ever cooked. And I still think it's wonderful to this day.
Right, OK.
You can't do anything better.
Well,
but there's a problem, isn't there?
There is a problem, absolutely. It's lost its traditional top spot with the Brits. And it has been overtaken by cheesecake. Cheesecake, and then so it's a top 10 of favourite treats, right? It's a survey by retailer Spa, 2,000 adults. Your top favourite tea time treat as a cake. Number 1 is cheesecake, number 2 is chocolate cake, number 3 is carrot cake, in at number 4 is lemon drizzle. 5 is Victoria sponge, you've slipped down the list, use ones. Bakewell tart at number 6.
Love Bakewell
do you
tart.
Do you like a Bakewell tart? Be careful. Donuts at number 7.
Oh, I love a donut too.
You do? You? Oh, no, not
We
donut.
can see.
In at number 8, we have millionaire shortbread, 9 lemon meringue pie, and 10 coffee cake. Yeah, no, not coffee cake.
Well, coffee with walnuts is lovely. Coffee and walnut.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And as regards to the Olympics, Biggins, there is an alternative if you're posh or if you've...
Yes.
Tell us
Biggins,
this.
be very careful with this one.
I love this. This is, I mean, there's a wonderful chocolate game for you and I, Eamonn. You put a large bar of dairy milk in the middle of the dining room table and take it in turns to roll a dice. If anyone scores a 6, they must immediately leap up, put on a selection of fancy dress clothing, then attack the bar with a knife and fork, which is very difficult, of course, to do. And then you eat the chocolate with a knife and fork while wearing ski gloves and comically difficult.
For goodness sake.
Why?
Giving up the will here.
Oh, well, I think it's quite fun. And then the other one I love is a stiffy tossing. And this is
why I said be careful, come on.
But no, this is in Edinburgh, when students were very rich and they lived in these wonderful houses and they were sent invitations. They used to throw the invitation towards the fireplace. Yes. And if it was stiff enough and landed on the fireplace, it would then mean they would go to that event. They would go. But if it didn't, if it was a flimsy, cheap, they wouldn't go.
Sounds like a bit of OCD there.
If you've just tuned in, Biggins is talking about invitations rather than anything else.
Yes.
Just to clarify.
And I suppose it's a sign that if they've spent money on that invitation, then
it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
Exactly. Whereas a piece of paper, a flimsy piece of paper, no.
But this is like the posh Olympics, isn't it? It's fun. You can have the games that posh people play.
OK. Thanks for playing with us today, guys. Really do appreciate that. Christopher Biggins and Dawn Neeson, very entertaining with the papers today.
But we are promised a beautiful day, aren't we? 34 degrees in some parts of the country. So let's get an update with Craig on your weather.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, this week starts off on a hot and humid note, and that humidity is also giving way to some thunderstorms. The thunderstorms already going across parts of northern England and Scotland. Warnings are in force here throughout the morning and early afternoon. After a fairly lively night across parts of Northern Ireland, it is cheering up here, some sunshine developing, but really the main bulk of the sunshine will be further south across England and Wales. The heat here could just trigger the odd thunderstorm, but most will be dry. But it's going to be an uncomfortable feeling day. Some places in the east potentially reaching 34 or 35 degrees. So as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, it's going to remain fine and dry across many parts of England and Wales. Could again just see the odd thunderstorm breaking out, but most will miss them, and temperatures only slowly falling away. Could still see temperatures in their 30s as we head into the evening. Northern Ireland, Northern England and most of Scotland seeing a drier end to the day. Winds also easing here too, but could just hang on to the rain across Shetland as we end Monday evening. So for most, it will be a fairly dry night, but a fairly warm and humid one, especially across the south. Temperatures potentially holding up above 20 degrees in a few spots. But out towards the west, we will see this next band of rain and cloud move in, and that will herald something a little bit fresher, but it is going to be a bit of a slow process as we go through Tuesday. So a dry sunny start for most of us on Tuesday, but the rain in the west will slowly spread its way eastward, so turning increasingly cloudy and damp for many western and eventually into some central areas too. But further east you are hanging on to the sunshine and also the heat. It won't be as hot across the east compared to today, but still highs reaching around 28 or possibly 29 degrees.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. ScotRail train services aren't running between Edinburgh, Waverley and Bathgate because of a gas leak near the railway. In Staffordshire, the A50 is blocked each way by an accident. In Sidaway roundabout and Heron Cross at Stoke-on-Trent causing queues. Also in Staffordshire, St Peter's Bridge at Stappen Hill's closed for an investigation causing queues. In Northamptonshire, Sheep Street in Wellingborough is closed for an investigation. In London, on the North Circular, it's down to a single lane westbound for repairs at the Brent Cross flyover with queues from the East End Road tunnel at Finchley. On the M26 in Kent, there are westbound queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, with plot-wise delays on the M25 towards there too. In Surrey, the A31 is partly blocked eastbound by an accident at Putnam Hill with queues from Tongham. There's disruption to First Bus South West routes across Somerset and Cornwall because of industrial action. And Skybus and Penzance helicopter flights to and from the Isles of Scilly are on hold because of poor visibility. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Good morning. The Home Secretary hits out at the loss of respect for the police.
Is she right? Yvette Cooper says recent riots revealed that people believe crime has no consequences.
She has pledged to restore faith in the law and confirmed that the streets will be flooded by police this week.
Has Sue Gray brought the Labour government into disarray? Reports of power struggles in Number 10 between the Chief of Staff and the PM's top advisors.
Ukraine's surprise invasion into Russia enters its 6th day. After evacuating 76,000 people from the border region of Kursk, Moscow has promised a tough response. A star-studded closing ceremony as the Olympics say goodbye to Paris and welcome Los Angeles as the host of the 2028 Games.
It's hotting up. Met Office have issued thunderstorm warnings as we're set to be hit by a scorching 34-degree heat wave.
Good morning. It's likely to be the hottest day of the year so far. Some parts of the UK could see highs reaching 34 or 35 degrees. Find out where with me in a little bit.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. Hello, good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Nana Akwe, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Have you been enjoying the good weather or what we have had of it?
Well, it's been quite nice, isn't it? And I'm kind of looking forward to, after the show, because I can actually sit outside and relax, enjoy. I think we've only got 1 or 2 days left of sunshine, I think, for the rest of the summer.
But will you do that, or will you find things to do? Will you find, I've got to do this instead, I've got to do this?
Oh, yeah, I'm always pottering about. I think I'll probably do a load of washing, put it on the line, because it's going to dry super fast. I can get loads of my washing out of the way. That's really sad, isn't it?
A lot of people enjoying you doing your gymnastics. Great start to the day with Nana bending over backwards. I'm sure it was. I've just got to say what an absolute joy it is having the gorgeous, beautiful, funny, intelligent, sassy Eamonn Holmes on.
Hang on a minute.
What? Oh, sorry, I thought that said Eamonn. Nana on breakfast this morning. Thank you for your calls and your comments, and thanks for the feedback. To politics now.
And riots around the country may have cooled, but a new battle has emerged inside number 10.
So reports have emerged that Keir Starmer's Downing Street is in disarray as a power struggle has broken out between the Chief of Staff, Sue Gray, and one of Starmer's advisors, with Whitehall sources accusing Ms Gray of thinking, I quote them, she runs the country. Now, the Home Secretary today has pledged to restore the public's faith in law and order following 2 weeks of unrest. She's written in the Daily Telegraph.
The Home Secretary says that the riots show the UK has lost respect for police and called the riots a disgraceful attempted assault on the rule of law. Well, GB News' political editor, Christopher Hope, joins us now. So, Christopher, give us a bit more on what was said and why is it that people are saying that Sue Gray is behaving as though she runs the country?
Yes, morning both. Yeah, this often happens, doesn't it, when you have quite an important and high-profile advisor like Sue Gray. She's the Chief of Staff. Many people won't have heard of her. She wasn't elected at the election, but she's a key person appointed last March by Sir Keir Starmer. She's known to viewers maybe as the person who investigated Partygate when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. She's well regarded in the Whitehall system. I know when she was there, she protected whistleblowers taking issue with the system. I think she was quite well regarded, but she's really close to Sir Keir Starmer. And there's a guy called Morgan McSweeney. Again, no one's heard of him, but he's the strategy guy at the heart of Keir Starmer. He helped to get this huge election landslide in the bag for the Labour Party. Reportedly, Sue Gray has moved McSweeney's desk away from the office of Sir Keir Starmer twice, and that's caused upset. And reportedly, Sue Gray has said that Morgan McSweeney can't access some quite technically important, secretive government computers. This is described by number 10 sources as codswallop, and noises off from people who don't know what they're talking about. But as Eamonn said earlier, this is what happens when you have quite senior unelected officials who are just annoying people because of their influence. Already Nadine Dorries, is a former Tory MP, has called Sue Gray Dominic Cummings Mark II, and her influence is important. She apparently appointed some ministers of the government. It wasn't Sir Keir Starmer doing it directly. I have met her, and she's a very nice person. She's not this kind of sinister person portrayed in the press, but I think that her influence is what's worrying people because she's not an elected individual. But elsewhere in politics today, we see Yvette Cooper writing in today's Daily Telegraph. Yeah. She's saying that it's important to take action because over the rioters because the rule of law is weakened under the Tory party. So far, 927 people arrested, 466 people charged so far since the riots 10 days ago.
Just getting back to Sue Gray, Chris, the thing is, she does know what she's talking about, though, because she's been on both sides. She's sort of gamekeeper turned poacher now, or maybe the other way around. She's been a civil servant. She will know what's required from the system. And then she's also got this influence on Starmer, what he needs to know and when he needs to know it. And there must be an information overload going towards someone like the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Eamonn, that is totally right. The job that Sue Gray's got, she's the kind of sieve ensuring that things that aren't irrelevant or important now for the PM aren't looked at. The thing with being Prime Minister is you see the entire iceberg of government stuff. You see everything that's going on. All we see in journalism is what's above the waterline. They see everything, and it can, I'm sure that will be overwhelming for anybody, and it can be overwhelming for a new Prime Minister. So Sue Gray's role is to try and filter what's important. Morgan McSweeney is an amazing strategist. He, of course, won this, or helped to win this landslide for the Labour Party, but maybe that his role falls away slightly as he focuses on the next election, securing a second term for Sir Keir Starmer in 2028 or 2029. So right now, Sue Gray's role is to control access and to make sure that the PM is focusing on the important stuff when it's required.
Didn't Boris Johnson call her Psycho Sue Gray? I think he did. Am I right, Christopher? He did, didn't he?
I didn't hear the word psycho, Nana. Not in public. I'm sure he was pretty cheesed off privately with her because of her investigations of those parties in Downing Street during lockdowns.
OK. Chris, leave it there. Enjoy the day. Nice jacket, incidentally. Thank you very much indeed.
It's a bit like yours, actually.
We're matching.
Is that why? They're matching. But, of course, you might get too hot, though, because temperatures are set to soar today.
Oh,
multiple parts of England.
And we're going to do 30 degrees, plus maybe 34, 35, and in other places it'll be a bit different, thunderstorms and whatever. But, you know, one swallow does not a summer make. That's the thing. So make the most of it today, whatever you're doing. And we're thinking about the animals involved in all of this. And our reporter, Anna Riley, went out and about to see just how they're being looked after in zoos.
So Anna Riley, she's here now, actually. Well, she's got out of the zoo. They let her out. And she's now I think she's in Scarborough. Oh, Anna Riley, Scarborough. What a lovely day. Beautiful day. So temperatures are set to soar. And what are people in Scarborough planning to do? There's a beach nearby, isn't there? And seagulls and everything. You can hear them.
Good morning to you both. Yes, and welcome to sunny Scarborough. It's actually Britain's oldest seaside resort, and we're delighted to be here today for what could be one of the hottest days of the year. We're at Harbour Bar to get an ice cream. We're cooling down already. This is lovely Grace. She's going to pour us one of their award-winning ice creams. Grace, it's always good for businesses like yourselves, isn't it, when there's hot weather? Just tell me a little bit about how it boosts tourism for Scarborough.
I mean, when the sun's out, the tourists come out in droves, so we often say it's always as good as the weather. But yeah, when the sun's out, the people come out.
And it's been colder, hasn't it? Unseasonably cold and wet.
I mean, earlier on, like this year, it has been quite cold. The last few weeks have been better. Like yesterday when the sun was out, it's really busy, so yeah.
And just tell me a little bit about your business, the family business here.
Well, it's not my business. It's Alonzi's Harbour Bar, so it's been in the same family for 79 years now. All the ice cream is made daily on the premises, and we make pretty much everything ourselves.
Thank you so much, Grace. Well, I'm going to tuck into this now. Give it a lick there. Delicious. Thank you so much, Grace. That lemon definitely makes a difference. So we're just going to cross the road here. It looks to be safe, so we can just come across here now with my ice cream. We've got the harbour just over here, which I think you mentioned, Nana. Scarborough's known for its famous harbour. It's looking a little bit cloudy at the moment, but that sun is going to be coming through. Like you said earlier, up to 34 degrees in some areas. But this is also an area where there could be thunderstorms. So certain areas, we can cross here, we're safe. Certain areas in the north of England have thunderstorm alerts in place, so that's what we've got here today. I'll just shimmy around here just to show you a beautiful view there of the harbour that we've got. And of course Scarborough, it's known for its harbour. It's been the oldest seaside resort since 1660 actually, when a book was written about the Scarborough Spa and the healing waters, and from 1845 that's when it's become even more of a popular tourist destination, when the railway station was built. So we're expecting millions of people that come across the year, but several hundred, maybe thousands today coming to enjoy that hot weather and the ice cream.
Oh, Anna, I'm thinking about you there, because that thing that happens to any of us who get a cone and they have to do what you're doing there, licking it before it melts all over your hand and whatever. So
she used that as an excuse.
We'll love you and leave you. You enjoy every bit of that. Thank you very much indeed, Anna Riley. Have a good day.
It's very good. She used that as an excuse to get a free ice cream. She didn't have to do all that. She could have started at the harbour. Brilliant. Right, though.
It's nice. It's nice to be at the seaside. It's nice to get that smell of everything. The smell of the sea,
sound of the
smell
gulls,
of the sand, the smell of fish and chips, the smell of candy floss, all that sort of thing. It's nice. It's nice. So if you're going, I hope you enjoy it. If you're to win 30,000 quid,
that'd be nice.
That's the Great British Giveaway, and it could be yours. Have a go.
Yeah.
Celebrate a spectacular summer with your chance to win an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash in our Great British Giveaway. It's the biggest prize of the year so far, and it's totally tax-free. What would you spend that on? Luxury holidays, a new car, or just put it away for a rainy day? Whatever you do with £30,000 in tax-free cash, make sure you don't miss out on a chance to make it yours. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Nice, very nice. 30,000 quid. You know, I think, sadly, in this day and age, people don't want to buy something, that dream that they've never had. I think people's instincts now, if they won £30,000, would be to say, I'm going to pay that bill off, or I'm going to see if that... Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it. And there's all this warning about a big global downturn in the stock market coming our way and whatever. I mean, why would you spend? You would just hold on to it for a while and say...
Do you think you wouldn't spend it on... You wouldn't spend it on holiday, would you? You might do. Well, stay with us, because still to come, we're joined by Andrew and Bev to hear what they've got coming up in Britain's newsroom. That is next. This is GB News.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation. You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Sarah, welcome to the show. Obviously, you work for a tobacco company, so a little caveat there to slip in. Nevertheless, it's no surprise that the illegal market is growing so much. When you look at the cost of cigarettes in Britain, huge amounts of duty, and oftentimes, of course, criminality always finds its way into the system. Tell us more about your report.
Absolutely. I mean, up to 90% of a packet of cigarettes is tax. And in the last year, there's been 2 tax increases that have equated more to the last 3 years combined. So now, if you're a roll-your-own smoker, a 30-gram pouch of roll-your-own will cost £22.50, but you can buy a counterfeit pack of 50 grams for £3. So there's a massive disparity. A lot of illegal tobacco is imported, but we do also have a problem in the UK with illegal tobacco factories. So in the last month, there's been an illegal tobacco factory in Gateshead, in Bury busted producing roll your own tobacco. And on the 12th of July this month, West Midlands gang illegal tobacco factory, the gang was found guilty of producing illegal tobacco, and that was more than £5 million lost tax revenue to the government. And actually, all of those people found guilty got a suspended sentence.
And how does that work? They're literally importing container loads of raw tobacco and packaging it up in factories in Britain. And they're using what appears to be British packaging illegally?
Yeah, some of it is branded packaging, so some of it isn't the kind of unbranded packaging we'd see on cigarettes and roll your own now, but it's relatively simple to reproduce, especially RYO. Our own pack swap data now shows that about 50% of the roll your own market is illegal tobacco.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, that was the cleaner going past there. No, this is Andrew Pearce getting ready for the next programme there. But staying with our programmes before we get to them, and we're talking about this hot weather and how people deal with it. And travelling it's hard. It's hard. And when I hear people say they're taking the train or they're taking a cruise ship instead of airports, I think there's an awful lot to be said. I mean, you get on a cruise ship and, you're a different place every day and you don't have to unpack and whatever. Trains are exactly the same from my point of view, although with me not being able to walk, train's a nightmare.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I mean, the thing you find out about access when you're disabled in any way is that it just doesn't exist. You can't get through toilet doors, you can't get down corridors, you can't... You go to physiotherapists or doctors and you've got to go up steps outside the building and then you get inside and you've got to go down steps. This is impossible. Do you realise the sort of people you're treating and they can't get around?
Well, I mean, I'm totally with you there, because when I ruptured my anterior cruciate ligament, that's in your knee, I would see people hopping or moving in a certain way and I felt so almost envious. I'd be like, oh my God, that looks so difficult to do. And I suddenly realised how debilitating that can be. You damage your knees or anything like that, suddenly you're in a situation where you're like, I can't even, go to the... It was difficult even to go to the toilet. Sorry to be... Don't be graphic on that.
Going to the toilet is amazing, because you go to restaurants and you say, do you have a disabled loo? No, we don't have a disabled loo.
Have to. I thought they had to by law.
No. If the building is more than 100 years old or something, they don't have to have a disabled loo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, airports are very good, though, for that. And, I mean, I was recently...
Airports are good, and staff and all the staff who assist people at airports and push you on with wheelchairs and things. Thing is, it's getting to be more people in wheelchairs than there are not in wheelchairs. And not all of them are needed to be in those wheelchairs, I would have thought.
But when I was in the airport, and I tell you, this is a bit of a story, when I was in Portugal, because I came back from Portugal, had a lovely holiday, we were in the airport on the way back, and I had carried the box of Lego. You know where we're going with this. It's like a little case. That was my son. He had his carry bag, and it was a little yellow case of Lego. Lots of Lego in there, about 1,000
Was he going to build this on the plane?
No, he loves building Lego. So and I know, on holiday, you can keep him occupied with Lego. It's great. So he's carrying this thing, and then he sort of ran and then tripped, and the Lego just went...
Oh, nightmare.
Like that in the airport. There's about
in every nook and cranny there could possibly be.
I think I went white, because people just looked at me, and suddenly, from nowhere, about 30 people, they all bent down, picking the Lego up, and within less than a minute, the Lego was back in the box. I said, thank you so... I was like, thank you so much.
So people went out of their way, they realised they...
This is in Portugal, though. I don't know whether that happened in the UK.
I think that's brilliant. That's absolutely super. To be standing beside someone like Andrew Pearce, he wouldn't pick up the...
Do you think Andrew would?
I would have been scrabbling on my hands and knees to help. Even though as a child I loathed Lego.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it. My brother liked it. I think I probably just threw the Lego at my brother. It wasn't me.
You have the same brain as me. Anything linear or logistic like that or whatever it is, it's not for you.
No.
And it's like train lines and all sorts of things like that. No, I don't do that linear, joined-up type thing. But I had a son, my youngest son, was obsessed with Lego. I remember when I was young, and the first time I saw Lego, a new Lego, you used to get one of the bricks had a light bulb inside it.
Good Lord.
And you built houses and where would you put the light?
Oh, God, I wouldn't know where to put it. I can tell you, I've never built anything in Lego. I was hopeless. Yeah. No. Now, anyway, lovely to see you both. I was going to ask you, it won't apply to you because you and I are slightly over 55, because we're doing this extraordinary story that if you're a man up to 55, you're going to be asked for, you have an X-ray. Are you pregnant?
Oh,
it's the world. It's the world we're in. The world we're in, and a lot of men are obviously objecting. This wokery has got to stop. But also a really moving story in the Times today. Graham Thorpe was one of our great cricketers. We lost him very recently. You know, he died at age 55. His wife, a man who's given an extraordinary interview, who says this: despite having a wife and 2 daughters he loved very much, and who loved him very much, he battled with his mental health. He didn't get any better. He was so unwell. In recent times, he believed we would be better off without him. We're devastated he took his own life. So she's revealed in an article in the Times today that the great cricketer Graham Thorpe took his own life. And you just think, don't you, they're so successful, they seem to have everything, fame, money, but he had all sorts of demons, and he took his own life at the age of 55. So we're going to be talking to somebody, an expert, about that sort of thing, the signs to spot. But there was 3 women who loved him to bits, and they lost him. Isn't that sad?
It's very, very sad.
And it's unfathomable how you actually reconcile, how you say, why did this happen? Was I to blame? I mean, it happened in my family circle, and very, very sad. And often you don't just lose the person, you lose people around them who can't deal with it and whatever. And it's very, very, very sad.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a cricket fan, but even I'd heard of Graham Thorpe, and I knew what an enormous institution he was. So that's quite interesting. And also, we're going to be talking about that extraordinary picture on the front pages of the newspapers today, the little girl just getting ready to go to the Taylor Swift concert. Wasn't that sad? I mean,
it is a
God!
Picture there.
Yeah.
Front of the Telegraph.
Extraordinary. The face of innocence, isn't she? Just getting ready to go to a little dancing class so she can make it, and then a couple of hours later she's dead. And those moving words from the family at the funeral yesterday, which were read out by the Chief Constable. But there will be lots of cheerful stuff in the programme too, of course.
Are you looking forward to? I know you weren't particularly into the Olympics.
I wasn't.
Neither was I.
And I didn't bother with the closing ceremony either.
No. And we definitely wouldn't bother with the closing ceremony after the opening ceremony.
Well, I kept saying to people, is it still on?
Yes.
It went on for hours and hours and hours. Every time I put the television, what, it's still on? Switch the channel again.
Well, it's like, you see, TV, I could see it. It was on BBC One and BBC Two at the same time sometimes, although they were very good in trying to schedule it. They biffed all the programmes of BBC One and they put the Olympics on. And then everything else went on BBC Two. And the other thing that happens with it, I just can't get this, is the amount of cooking programmes, particularly on a Saturday and Sunday. You'll get BBC One or some cooking
Unbelievable.
Program, flick BBC Two, some cooking programme, ITV, some cooking programme, Channel 4, some... I mean, it's unbelievable.
Why do they do that?
I wonder if it's... I suppose, is it quite cheap to produce? Is it? I don't know.
Well, like everything in TV has to be quite cheap to produce nowadays.
I never watch any cooking programmes ever.
No.
Not any of them. Ever.
I've hosted some.
Yeah.
It's more of a sort of, you see it and you think, oh, I haven't got that. Oh, my food's not going to look like that. You sort of look at your food, you look at their food, and you just switch it off.
I know.
Can't do that. That will never be me.
Can't cook, won't cook.
Yeah. Waitrose microwave.
And then, Andrew, it brings me to the question of the weather. We're talking about 35 degrees.
We are.
Maybe highs like that. Do you like warm weather? What's your situation on that?
Great. I think it's great. It's not great if you're travelling on the tube, which I do, but what I do find irritating now is how we have to be so nannied now. Amber weather warning. Like, what? Don't we know how to cope with the heat? Put a bit of sunblock on, have some water. It's obvious, is it? Do we need all these boring messages being churned out on the hour? How do they cope in Greece?
I know. Don't get a bronze body either, whatever you do. That's all the problem.
Exactly.
Mr. Andrew, we will look forward to that. Thank you very much indeed. Anna, I've enjoyed working with you very much today. But it'll be it's Ellie tomorrow, isn't it? Ellie Costello tomorrow doing that. But very nice to have had you on board. Thank you very much indeed. We're back from tomorrow morning from 6 o'clock. Andrew and Bev up next. Have yourselves a good sunny day.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather. on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, this week starts off on a hot and humid note, and that humidity is also giving way to some thunderstorms. The thunderstorms already going across parts of northern England and Scotland. Warnings are in force here throughout the morning and early afternoon. After a fairly lively night across parts of Northern Ireland, it is cheering up here, some sunshine developing, but really the main bulk of the sunshine will be further south across England and Wales. The heat here could just trigger the odd thunderstorm, but most will be dry, but it's going to be an uncomfortable feeling day. Some places in the east potentially reaching 34 or 35 degrees. So as we end the afternoon and go into the evening, it's going to remain fine and dry across many parts of England and Wales. Could again just see the odd thunderstorm breaking out, but most will miss them, and temperatures only slowly falling away. Could still see temperatures in their 30s as we head into the evening. Northern Ireland, Northern England and most of Scotland seeing a drier end to the day. Winds also easing here too, but could just hang on to the rain across Shetland as we end Monday evening. So for most, it will be a fairly dry night, but a fairly warm and humid one, especially across the south. Temperatures potentially holding up above 20 degrees in a few spots. But out towards the west, we will see this next band of rain and cloud move in, and that will herald something a little bit fresher, but it is going to be a bit of a slow process as we go through Tuesday. So a dry sunny start for most of us on Tuesday, but the rain in the west will slowly spread its way eastward, so turning increasingly cloudy and damp for many western and eventually into some central areas too. But further east you are hanging on to the sunshine and also the heat. It won't be as hot across the east compared to today, but still highs reaching around 28 or possibly 29 degrees.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. ScotRail train services aren't running between Edinburgh, Waverley and Bathgate because of a gas leak near the railway. In Staffordshire, the A50 is partly blocked westbound by an accident between Heron Cross and the Sidway roundabout at Stoke-on-Trent, causing queues. In Northamptonshire, Sheep Street in Wellingborough is closed for an investigation. In London on